Yeah, buddy, here we are. We're back. We're doing it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. We're going to be unspruing another homie. Actually, we might just be spruing the teleporter and fixing up the other guy that we had started last week. So I think it's going to be a little too hard to glue them on after the fact, especially if I have to drill holes into them and stick the paper clip in them and get them to line up nicely. I think we're just going to put them together first and then paint them second. And I'll just squeeze into wherever I need to squeeze in. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope everybody's all right, having a good week. Grab your snacks, your drinks, all your paint party enhancers. We're going to be starting out with the miniature first, and then we're going to move over to a little DARKTIDE, possibly. And then back to the miniature a little bit. Got my drawer of tricks, all the stuff I'll need. Instead of just grabbing stuff and putting it on the table and all that, I'm just going to put the drawer on the table and grab what I need when I need it. Thanks for being here, you guys. Chilling. Hope you guys are having a good one. We're going to watch a little Vox in the Void. Listen to a little lore. A couple stories. Grab my eyes, cross my T's. There it is, you guys. Here we are. We're doing it. Thank you for being here. Got a couple sprues. Got a couple sprues up in my head loose. All right, you guys. Let me know if it's too loud, not loud enough. Kill the music. There it is. Here we are.
He looks out across a polluted orange sky, stained by the cancerous, pulsing growths of the capillary towers. His eye line lowers, staring across what was once the ocean. If he strains his eyes, he can see the seabed writhing. The ocean eats itself, and soon it will writhe no longer. He wears the combat fatigues of the Zanak 10th and the wounds of a dozen battles. Alien acid has made a blister of his face, an outstretched handprint of unmarked skin stamped across his right eye. The hand that made that print is gone, melted into sludge. He does not know why he is still alive. There is a las pistol in his remaining hand. If the sea was still there, he would have used it on himself. The ugliness has shocked him out of suicide. If he put the gun to his temple and pulled the trigger, his body would not disappear into churning grey waves.
Just put another one together.
Instead of splatter. One last depressing
We'll try to be a little quicker this time.
And be devoured by those things that have replaced the dirt. He turns back to his motorcycle. He has spent most of its promethium reaching the sea, and now he knows it was nothing but wasted fuel and time. But he drove through a small town where there were still people. Maybe the remaining promethium will get him back there. The bike gutters to death half a mile away. He feels a lump in his throat and doesn't understand why he pats the handlebars one last time. As he turns and walks away, he resists the urge to look back. He won't be able to leave if he looks back. The outskirts of town are quiet. The suicidal are already gone. Some hang from lampposts, stomachs swollen and leaking. They leave behind the mad and the spiteful.
61.
An ashen breeze carries the stench of a decomposing atmosphere of chemicals and digestive fluid. In the distance, he can hear the thump of music, pulsing through the dying earth. It is as good a direction as any. He feels lightheaded. The ruin of his right arm oozes vitae and pus. He is dying. His blood races against the apocalypse, but for now he is alive. He hears the screaming of a child. He follows that awful sound to a side street, a street that stinks of refuse and rot gut and sick. He finds the girl there, in the grip of a man with greying hair and a lolling tongue.
Oh.
Hey ho, mate,
Damn.
the man says.
I dropped it.
His words
It only
are
bounced
slurred, his
once.
eyes
So
are
I landed on
unfocused.
probably the
Wanna
blanket I have
share?
down here for the cat.
Wait!
Let me get the other foot right.
Wait! The whip crack of the las pistol pitches him to the floor. The shot has pierced his chest and collapsed his lung. He gasps as it fills with sludging fluid, struggling for a breath that comes only in ragged, racking coughs. The soldier puts away his pistol, crouches down and offers the little girl his hand. Timidly, she reaches out and takes it. They leave the dying man where he lies. She reminds him of his daughter. Her shoulder-length hair is chestnut brown, and her dark eyes are wide and scared, like two sinkholes sucking all the horror into her soul. Her arms are covered in scratches and scrapes. They walk towards the sound of music, two lonely figures in empty streets. They ignore the graffiti and the blood and all those memory stains of madness that occupy the recent past. All those false theories and wild accusations, all those false revelations and pointless barters.
Pelvis 56.
They ignore the shadow of a woman hanging from the lamppost, her cheeks puffy from grief and death. The music leads them to a church. It is an incongruous match. Gothic archways standing stiffly beside reverb bass and up-tempo beats. There are people dancing, drinking, laughing, crying. The little girl grips his hand tighter.
Join us.
A woman calls out.
What's up, Area 51, my guy? We're doing all right, dude. How are you doing, my dude?
He looks to the
chilling.
girl.
We're gonna try to be a little quicker on this Terminator.
Do you want to dance, little lady?
Try not to slack it too hard.
Him by the hand. There are 3 men and 2 women here, swaying and pounding.
Got my drawers stuff instead of putting all my stuff on the table. I'll just keep the drawer on the table and grab what I need.
Drink. He brings it to his lips and fills the salve of lukewarm ale
against his ravaged throat. One falls on the floor and
it is like an ocean wave.
You gotta just like rocks. Listen. I could look real quick, but sometimes
the little girl
in the looking, I'll hit it or something will happen to it.
Giggles as he
so I'll just kind of like listen to it, make sure I hear like what it does, and then I'll go looking for it.
By the bass and rising black.
Probably a bad idea.
When he wakes,
probably just
he is lying on a
look
pew.
for it as soon as possible.
A man sits beside him, tensing his arms.
That's all right. We got it. We found it.
Welcome back, he says.
We heard it enough to know where it went.
The soldier blinks.
Don't try to get up. You've been bleeding out for days.
Am I going to die? Mark smiles.
We all are.
The girl.
She's safe. She's trying ale for the first and last time.
She's just a child.
It's the end of the world, friend. And not so potent a drink, more's the pity.
Maybe I do need to take stuff out of the drawer.
An hour?
I need to stand.
Give me 3 more hours, friend. It's slow without proper equipment.
No, I can't.
It's all right. Close your eyes.
Wow, of course, the last spot I look, that's where I find it.
He closes his eyes. If not for the slowness of his dying thoughts, he would have kept them open. He sleeps a dreamless sleep, overtaken by blissful oblivion.
Just a little bit.
For a few precious hours, he does not hear the sound of screaming or feel the agony of half-cooked flesh. But then he wakes and the pain returns. How long? He asks.
You startled me, friend.
How long?
Long enough. Let me remove the tube, and for the love of the God Emperor, get up slowly.
He feels a pinch in his arm, the press of a plaster to his skin. Mark helps him get upright, his head spinning with bloodless stupor. He looks around for the girl. He sees her tottering, giggly and drunk, spinning in the arms of a young-faced woman.
She's fine, friend. As fine as she can be.
Damn, dude, the aggressive rice
Can
dole.
we stay with you?
Rice dole.
He asks.
Jesus, you hear that? Rice dole. Bro.
I need some
aggressive dice roll.
Don't go far,
dude.
friend. He makes his way from the church doors.
You try to get that extra little spin on it.
The encroaching dusk.
Nah, off they go.
The sun sets, it is partly occluded by the black cloud.
Oh yeah, dude. What'd you guys play?
Its light sickened to a rusted green as it diffuses through poison spores. Across the courtyard of steps, leading
my
to the
dyslexia gets me in my littered words.
Once the wall must have marked the edge of the settlement, but the town grew beyond it, expanding like vines from the stone and weathered bricks. He climbs those steps, feeling his world tremble with every hesitant step. He wants to see how long they have before they come and bring the end of all things. He stares across the horizon into the face of an incoming storm. The black formations in the sky are not clouds, and the sheets of grey are not rain. It is not weather racing towards them, but locusts of red tooth and bloody claw and poison spittle. By his estimation, they have 5 hours. He had fought them. He had tried to stop them, but only they could stop the tide of an ocean. The Zanark 10th stretch across the horizon, rooted into trench networks that are months in the making. Tens of thousands of able-bodied men and women clutch at their last guns.
Was it just like
their numbers bolstered by the Planetary Defense Force and almost a
RNG that got you guys? Is that why you guys lost, or was it pretty much
by bunkers and heavy weapon
bad choices and the moves and this and that, and bad strategy, no communication,
and scores of
was it user error or was it
200 meters
RNG?
Back, the Earthshaker cannons of basilisks glint
random
dully in the
numbers
morning
get
sun.
you.
Here is a force that can bring entire worlds to heel. The hammer of the God Emperor, arrayed in all its glory and might. It is not nearly enough. Fighting retreats across the northern hemisphere have bought the defenders time to build this speed bump. The Lord General has decided that this is where the war will be lost, but he speaks of victory to his soldiers. They don't know yet. They don't know that the entire fleet has been devoured, that the astropaths have lost their minds, that the incoming swarm will drown out the light of the sun. The Earthshaker cannons fire and prove true their name. The soldier grimaces beneath his helmet, feeling the palpitations through the dirt. He can see the enemy, but only vaguely. A black smudge that reaches across the ridge and convulses like fitful smoke. By the time he can make out individual loping movements, the Lehman Russ tanks have opened fire, the percussive boom of battle cannons resembling the throaty roar of their namesake. Each shot sends hundreds of Xenos into pieces, separating chitin and claws and talons into bloody chunks of discarded putrid meat. But every crater scarred into the earth fills, as if with water. It becomes clear just how many of them there are, and what this battle is. He pisses himself, and finds himself temporarily unable to think.
Bro.
The autocannons open up. Thousands of Xenos have already been killed, their bodies crushed beneath the endless waves of bounding monsters. Las cannon bolts dance towards larger, more terrible creatures still, burning blackened holes in the chitin of impossible things. Gargoyle locusts thicken the sky, each the size of a grown man. The heavy bolters join the battle, blowing apart chitin.
Tell the truth. Hello, here we are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching.
The sergeant is shouting at
We're
him.
just freeing one of the guys.
Weapons up!
Freeing
Training
another
kicks
little
in.
guy. For
He passes the order down the line, snapping the squad out of their reverie terrors. Las guns lock into position, aimed at the coming
trying to do it a
swarm.
little bit faster than we've done it the last few times.
Then, just sound and blinking
Always takes us
sensations.
forever, but
Lasgun whip cracks.
maybe we could do it a
alien
little
shrieks,
quicker this
screaming
time.
men and bellowing artillery.
Or we're not stuck here
Inhuman
9 hours
roars,
doing it. It's fun.
murderous
It's fun doing
percussion,
it.
Keening cries.
But I'd like to do it a
snapping
little quicker
bones,
than 9
metal
hours
shearing,
or
muscles
5 hours.
tearing. Terror
I can do it in
and bravery,
3
mixing
with
into
a little
one
bit of video
churning
games
brown
involved.
paint of
then
cacophonous
I'd be
emotion. Death on a scale not meant for human comprehension, in so short a time as to drive mortal minds insane. A microcosm of an uncaring, devouring galaxy that knows only war. And soon, agony too, as the green acid spits, and he brings up his right hand to save one half of his face. He wakes to the sound of buzzing and the sensation of burning. He finds a motorbike before the corpse feasters can reach him. He drives away and never looks back. He stumbles back into the church, collapsing onto a pew. He feels immeasurably tired. Part of him is tempted to sleep.
Damn mold lines.
But sleep is just another form of
That's
suicide now,
the
and he left behind such notions when he saw the Eaton Sea. Above him is a fresco of the Emperor, a golden giant grappling with a winged serpent.
Damn.
His blade alight
That sounds
with
actually like
whitened
it
flame.
must have been a pretty fun game.
The dragon is pierced by fire, broken body unraveling around the master's feet.
It's the only thing we survive
Hell yeah,
around here.
dude.
Probably because it's so high up.
Mark
That's what I
sits
like to
beside
hear.
him, offering another cup of weak ale.
This place was looted early on.
Mark continues, gesturing to the stripped altar and broken podium.
Some fools must have thought that gold still mattered. The graffiti came afterwards, we think.
When did you come here?
This afternoon. We found some corpses here and buried them in the garden.
Why? Mark shrugs.
We didn't want them ruining the mood.
He says, smiling.
And we didn't want to toss them into the street.
You came here to die.
We came here to live. One last time. This is a good place to celebrate humanity. You're a soldier, aren't you, friend? One of the Xanarch?
Yes. He feels Mark squeeze his shoulder.
Thank you for trying.
I'm sorry it wasn't enough.
Oh, don't be foolish, friend. Is your home still out there, then?
Yes.
That's something.
And my wife and daughter. Mark smiles sadly.
Well,
He says.
thank the Emperor they're not here.
The little girl spots them and runs over, drunk and bleary-eyed. She throws herself into the soldier's chest, resting her pretty head upon his shoulder. He brings her into a clumsy embrace, disadvantaged by his missing hand. Her hair smells like ash and strawberries. For the first time in a week, he smiles, stroking her hair as she softly slumbers. A few peaceful minutes pass, blaring music seeming to fade into autumnal black.
You should know that she won't wake.
Mark says. He holds
Hell
up
yeah.
a placating hand.
Don't, friend. It's for the best. A little girl shouldn't know what it feels like to be
There's
ripped
nothing
apart
better
limb
than a
from
little
limb.
family time.
The soldier stops fumbling for his las pistol. There is a deadness in his heart. Is it all
But only a little
poison,
family.
then?
Too much
He
is
eventually asks.
sometimes too much.
No. We can make an informed choice. The little one couldn't. I gave her all the anesthetic I had left.
You should have told me. Asked me.
No, friend. I didn't want you to have to do that.
The soldier feels the deadness in his heart dissolve in awful hate. He brings up his las pistol. He shoots Mark in the head, sending him slumping against the pew. When the women scream, he shoots them too. He pitches one over the wreckage of the pulpit and drops another with a clean round to the eye. A
Damn,
man
savage.
has the time to roar in outrage before he dies, crashing through the punch table. The last man takes 2 rounds to the stomach and cracks open his skull against the stone floor. The soldier bows his head. His tears mingle with the ashen strawberry scent of her hair. He sits there for a few hours holding her. Then, he lets her corpse slip from his grip. Her frail body slumps against the cold stone. I'm sorry, Becca. Daddy loves you. He can hear them coming. It sounds like 1,000 scratching quills pressing on the confines of his mind. The loudcaster has fallen silent. He idly examines his empty las pistol, a wry smile on his lips. In a minute or two, he'll regret his actions. He's still not sure what it was. A massacre, an avenging, mercy. If he had killed the last man with a single round, his charge pack wouldn't be empty. He grunts, tossing the gun away. The scuttling sound grows louder, broken by the voice-tearing screams of inhuman throats. There are a few gunshots. He gets to his feet. He almost falls. The bumpy scar tissue of his face is ashen grey. He staggers. He had wanted to climb the bell tower, but he knows he wouldn't make it. Instead, he stumbles outside. He ascends the dozen or so steps to the ancient inner wall. The Xenos spill among the streets like water between cracks, moving as one organism of many bodies, cavorting in perfect synchronization. Black, lifeless eyes seek out their prey, foul ichor dripping from extended toothy maws. Their talons and claws clack along the rockcrete, scratching at the surface. Scratching quills or clacking pebbles, smoothed out by dead ocean tides.
Alright, let's glue this guy together.
He feels the slow churning of dread gather in his stomach. Despite it all, he is afraid. When they see him, they hiss, the air bubbling where their poison breath meets the sky. He readies himself. He raises his arms in a guard and squares off against the steps. He doesn't see his death coming. The Hormagaunt pounces, clearing the distance between street and parapet in one effortless leap. A pair of talons rip him into shredded pieces. He screams, but briefly. The swarm moves on. Soon the corpse feasters arrive, bodies bloated like blood-gorged ticks. They tear the flesh from his melting bones and lick up the bubbling marrow. They are thorough. They leave nothing to waste. When they are done,
what up,
they move
Phil?
on to the church.
How are you, bro?
Hours pass. The town is picked clean.
You're doing good, my
There
dude.
is no
We're just
vegetation, no birds or
putting together one of the
insects or
homies.
rodents. Certainly no humans. The corpse feasters continue. They reach the edge
Putting
of the
together
devoured
one of
ocean
these
and make their
guys.
clumsy shuffling way down to
And
where
then eventually
waves
we'll
once
paint 'em
lapped
like
against
this
the
one.
shore. They wriggle and crawl to one of the
But right now we're
capillary
just
towers,
we're just
a
building it.
huge writhing edifice of pulsating muscle and tensing
Right now I'm
flesh.
putting the legs.
Around the tower is a great
The
digestive
legs on the
pool of
pelvis. We've
acrid
got one
sludge.
leg on there.
The air shimmers in its stench.
And we're gonna put the other
As
leg
one,
on
the
right here,
corpse
right
feasters
quick.
throw themselves into
And then during the week
pool,
I'll primer them with
And what
paint,
is left
spray
of
primer
him
paint.
dissolves into
Yeah,
stinking
buddy.
soup.
Sure did. I started late too, and the day got away from me. Another video. Next one. Into the maelstrom.
This Cheetos pizza thing, it changes everything.
Hey, you guys try these? Pretty tasty.
Hey, Donnie, don't you got someplace to be?
A little more glue. One more leg.
Wake up, Corsair.
His leg looks good,
We're
though.
almost there.
Sartak snapped back to consciousness, only to find himself looking down the barrel of a bolter.
That's all right. It'll have to
Beyond
do.
it was the disapproving face of Argon,
It'll
a
have to
space
do.
marine of the White Scars. Although Argon had not slept for days, his eyes were alert and his grip on the bolter firm. "I am not a Corsair," Sartak said with dignity. "I am like you, a space marine of the Astral Claws chapter." Argon reached down, grabbed Sartak's shoulder with his left hand and hauled him roughly to his feet. Forcing his bolter against the side of Sartak's head, the White Scar spat in disgust.
You filth. The Astral Claws betrayed the Emperor. You lost the right to be called a Space Marine long ago. You're nothing but a reaver
You
and
know
a
what,
pirate.
man? You think that
Sartak
I thought
felt
that
the
too,
cool metal of the bolter
but
against his
you
flesh.
like there's ways
but somehow
to
he remained
brace your
calm.
hands in a
He knew the
position
White Scar
where
would not kill him now.
you can just
There was too much at stake.
finally pick at it with the
I
brush
am here to
real
restore
nicely.
the honor of the Astral
It
Claws.
takes a little
he
patience,
said
a little
in
time,
level
but
voice.
if you enjoy doing
My
it,
reaving
it's
days
not a big
are
deal.
over.
But if you enjoy playing the
Argon released
game
Sartak
but
from
not
his grip,
painting
but kept
and
the
not
bolter
doing little
handy.
shit like that, then putting these
Yes,
together might be a pain
The
in the
White
ass.
Scar growled.
So you said in your moving speech before Super
But I actually
Khan.
haven't played the
After
game
years
yet. I
as a
don't know how to
murdering
play the
cur,
game.
You woke up one
But I've been
morning
enjoying
and
putting them
realized
together.
you
It's
still
like
loved the Emperor.
it's like grown-up Legos,
Argon's
or
voice
just an
dripped with
expensive
scorn.
Lego that makes me feel
and
more.
now
grown-up.
you're going to help us kill Huron
Right.
Blackheart.
The White Scar's
There it
laughter
is,
filled
he's
the
glued
cramped
on
quarters
there.
of the smuggler's ship.
We got some legs.
I've heard more
Look at
convincing
look at those
lies
legs.
from Ogrins.
Pretty little dancer's legs.
If you don't believe me, Sartak said, flatly exasperated after days
But yeah,
of such
if
exchanges.
you like doing that
Then
little
why in
tiny
the
shit, then
Emperor's name
you'll
are
enjoy
you
it.
here?
If you were a true
Gotta cut out
Space Marine,
57,
Argon
55, and
thundered.
57 now.
you wouldn't even have to ask me that question.
55 and 57.
I am here because I was ordered to be. That's all I need to
Release them out
know.
of their sprue prison. There's a little
Argon,
tiny moth
I'm
around
weary
here
of
somewhere.
fighting
I
with
keep
you.
seeing it out of the corner of my
Sartak
eye.
replied with a
I'm gonna
sigh.
get you, little bastard. Here's your
What
one
I've
warning,
told you
little
is the
moth.
truth.
You better get out of here.
Huron Blackheart is
Come
planning a
back.
massive attack on an undefended Imperial world.
Time is up.
If I can find my friend Lothar on Blackheart's flagship, he should be able to tell us where the attack will fall.
Sure are.
Sartak had
Legos are
told
already
his story a
expensive for sure.
dozen times.
Absolutely.
But it was plain from the look on Argon's face that the White Scar didn't believe a word of it. Still, Sartak felt compelled to speak the words, hoping in his heart that they were true. Then, the Astral Claw finished. We can
What did I
signal the
say?
rest of your
Oh, yeah,
chapter and
55
bury
and
Blackheart
57.
forever. He paused,
55
before adding,
and 57.
if you ever take off this inhibitor, that is. Almost unconsciously, Sartak ran his fingers over the heavy collar around his neck.
Here's 55.
As always, he could not find any kind of seam.
55.
Watching with amusement, the White Scar laughed.
What's wrong? Don't you like being Argon's dog, Corsair? It's the only way to teach you discipline and obedience.
The smile left Argon's lips as quickly as it had come.
Besides, I couldn't risk you alerting your friends and the Red Corsairs before our arrival.
57. There's
Whatever.
57.
We are almost to the Maelstrom.
Argon continued.
You'll have your precious powers back soon enough.
The White Scar slung his bolter reluctantly, but kept his eyes on Sartak.
Just try to remember what it really means to be a Space Marine and a Codicea.
Sartak locked eyes with Argon. I swear before the Emperor to prove the truth of my words and restore the honor of the Astral Claws.
Then may the Emperor have mercy on your soul, Corsair.
Argon and Sartak stood in the vast, reeking metal belly of Huron Blackheart's great warship. Surrounded by the Red Corsairs, renegade space marines of a dozen chapters.
Wait, these
they
you
awaited
consider
Blackheart
fancy
himself.
mega constructs?
Argon stood proud and upright,
I mean, yeah, they're pretty
staring
fancy.
defiantly at his fallen
Some of the
brethren,
Legos that
while
they have these
Sartak
today,
shifted uncomfortably,
like 20 years ago,
searching
Legos.
the crowd for a friendly face.
Well, no, 20 years ago, Lego, they're
A
still all
haze
right.
of torch and incense
But like
smoke
30
hung
years
over
ago,
the
Lego,
bay,
hell no,
but could
dude.
not obscure the leering
was
gargoyles that
boring
adorned
back
its
then.
walls. From here, amidst twisted iron
But
sconces
now,
and blood-spattered altars,
we got some pretty
Huron
badass sets.
Blackheart led the Red Corsairs in their depraved
Expensive
worship
stuff,
of
yeah.
the foul gods of
Same
chaos.
with this. We got badass pieces, but
Sartak had heard
Expensive
the
pieces.
screams of countless victims in this dark temple, and the memories haunted him still. Blackheart's men were just as Sartak remembered them. Once the Emperor's
there's no game
elite,
with Gunpla.
full of honor
Gunpla is
and
only
courage,
for
these Marines had betrayed their oaths
for painting
and followed
and building,
Huron into
but not
heresy,
no game for
where
it.
they had once used their strength
Yeah,
to protect the
you learn
citizens of the
something new every
Imperium.
day.
They now used that same savage power to offer up victims to their cruel gods. Blood, booty, and terror were their masters now, and Sartak found it increasingly hard to believe that he had been one of them. Looking down at the fading astral claws marking on his power armor, now but a dim trace of their former glory, Sartak wondered if there was any honor left to salvage. Unwilling to meet the eyes of any of his former comrades, Sartak scanned the Great Bay. His gaze came to rest on the prone forms of Huron's dreadnoughts. These massive machines of destruction stood chained amongst the broken pillars of the central temple, as if their lifeless husks could be reanimated at any moment. But it was naught but an illusion, for the sarcophagi which housed the pilots that gave life to the stomping beasts were well away from the dreadnoughts. Sartak knew them to be housed behind the Great Seal, safely locked away in Huron's Temple of Temples. Although the Red Corsairs consigned the deranged and insane to lives of living torment inside the metal sarcophagi, they still treated the dreadnought pilots with an awed respect, perhaps because their irrational power reminded the Corsairs of their own inhuman gods.
Oh,
A
gross,
hush fell
dude.
over the assembled Chaos
Could've put my
Marines,
fingernails. Whoops.
and Sartak could hear Huron Blackheart approach. As long as he lived, he would never forget the peculiar rhythm of Huron's thumping footsteps, a product of the melter-gun blast which had destroyed half of the man's body. The Red Corsairs parted before their master as he strode into view. Blackheart was a towering figure, half man and half machine. His massive armor, a corrupted mockery of that of the Space Marines, bristled with blades and saws. In place of his left arm, he had an enormous bionic claw that
looking
jerked
all
open
right.
and closed spasmodically, so eager was it to rend the flesh of the living. Huron's wreck of a face radiated sheer menace, and his eyes burned with an unholy fire. Stopping his thundering advance only a few paces from the two Space Marines, the Blood Reaver sized up his new guests as a butcher might study cattle ready for slaughter.
Sartak,
Huron boomed.
I last saw you dead on the bridge of a White Scars cruiser. Yet here you stand. Tell me, how are you alive?
Great tyrant, Sartak began. I was but knocked unconscious during that savage fight. The White Scars took me prisoner, but I would say nothing to them. The Marine could feel his mouth getting drier as the well-prepared lies came to his lips. Hurriedly, he continued, trying to finish before his voice betrayed him. Argon here helped me escape, and we hired a smuggler to bring us back to the Maelstrom. I told Argon that you were always looking for men like him. Huron's twisted face betrayed nothing as his gaze swept to the White Scar. Sartak felt relieved to be out from his scrutiny. He only hoped the proud White Scar could feign the humility needed to win the tyrant's trust.
And you, loyal White Scar,
Huron said.
You betrayed your comrades to help Sartak escape.
Glue that guy together.
Why risk death to help this lowly sorcerer?
Here in a little bit, we'll take a break and we'll play some
I care
DARKTIDE.
nothing for this wretch.
Argon
Or we'll play a
I
40k
used
game.
him because I knew he could
If
bring me
Francis
to
shows
you.
up, we'll play a little
The White Scar
DARKTIDE.
bowed
If he
his
doesn't
head
show up, we'll
ever
play a
so
little
slightly. For the
called
first time acknowledging the power of the Blood Reaver.
Warhammer 40k Martyr.
And you,
Something like
Lord,
that.
are the only man who can offer me
Yeah,
refuge
dude, we
from
gotta
the wrath
sand
of my
some
gutless
pieces.
brethren.
Make sure they're
Blackheart
because there's like
laughed.
these little tiny nubs
This
where you
one's
clip,
got spirit.
where you clip it.
He took
That
two
little white
great
spot right
strides
there?
over to Argon and grabbed the White
A little white
Scar's
spot
neck
up on
in his
top
wicked
middle.
claw.
That thing needs
As
to be
blood
sanded
trickled
down
ever
so
so
it's nice
slowly
and
down
straight.
the
Well, you
hungry
don't have
pincer,
to sand it
the Blood
down, bro.
Reaver
Like I said, if
continued.
this is your
Tell
this is
me,
your
White
thing. Like
Scar,
if you
what
want them
did
all
you do to
jagged,
earn the wrath of
leave
your
them jagged. As
chapter?
long as you can tell what they are
Argon
and you can
stood
move them
rock
on.
still,
As long as other
lest
people
a
can also
sudden
tell what they
movement caused
are,
the
you can
claw
move
to
them
snap shut.
on the board if you're
Great
playing.
Tyrant,
You're just doing
He
it for your
choked
own
out.
thing, dude.
I
Do it
killed
however
my
you want. Give him a
sergeant in
third
battle
arm sticking out of
because
his
he ordered a
chest.
retreat.
Give him a third
Cowards
leg.
like him
Well, he's already
deserve
done
only
it.
death.
No, but yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Blackheart stood silently for a long
It's
moment.
your toy,
The
bro.
only sound in the room, Argon's increasingly laboured breathing, as the claw squeezed tighter. Then the claw snapped open, and the Blood Reaver stepped back. Argon sighed in relief and drew in great gulps of air. Sartak also
Like for me,
relaxed.
I don't play,
The
but I
worst
just
was
want
over.
him to look nice. Like I
He knew
want
how
it. If
merciless
somebody
Huron could be with
were to
potential
pick it
new
up
recruits,
and just look
but it
at it
seemed that
for a
Argon had
second, I want
passed the
them to be
test.
like, "Oh, damn, that looks pretty good."
Huron strode over to Sartak and put his good hand on the Astral Claw's shoulder.
Brother, you have done well.
It's
You know how few
both.
sorcerers I command,
There's ones that are
and we have
single
mourned your
giant
loss.
ones that are expensive,
Sartak,
and then like this set
wary of
came
trickery,
with five
could detect
five
no
guys,
falsehood
and then
in
a
the
little.
tyrant's words.
I
a little
want to
beacon,
welcome you
they call it.
back to the Red Corsairs.
So this is what came in my box right here. The one that we're
Blackheart's
doing.
voice deepened as he
Comes with
continued.
5 homies.
But first,
2, 3,
you
4,
must do
5.
something for
And this
me.
little tiny
Anything,
beacon
great
thing
tyrant!
down here. Whoops,
Sartak exclaimed, nodding his head.
stupid glare.
Blackheart removed his hand from Sartak's shoulder, unholstered his bolt pistol, and held it out to the Astral Claw.
Kill
That
the
thing.
White
We're gonna do that,
Scar.
but that's just a little quick
Great
one. So we're
tyrant!
just working on another one of the
Sartak
guys.
stammered.
So this is one
He-
box.
Well, he helped me to escape.
It's my third box.
He helped you escape so you could bring
We're still
him
kind of
here.
noobs.
Huron said matter-of-factly.
This is my first box
He's
right
a
here. Was
White
the
Scar
start
infiltrator.
here
No
set.
doubt sent to
But it's
kill
Warhammer
me. Now
40k
take this and execute him.
The
introductory
tone of the
set.
Blood Reaver
And it
brooked
came with,
no contradiction.
some
Not if
paints.
Sartak
Came with
wanted
the
to live.
paints. What is it? 5 paints? Yeah,
The Marine
5
took the
paints.
pistol and walked slowly
dice,
over to Argon.
The play mat.
He had no love
The
for the
aliens that you
uncompromising
can
White Scar,
build and
but
paint,
nor
and
did he
then
want to be his
and then
executioner.
the good guys, the Space Marines.
He raised the pistol and aimed for Argon's temple. At least death would be quick.
What are you waiting for?
Roared the Blood Reaver.
Kill him. Kill the traitor.
The Red Corsairs howled in unison.
The set, the beginner
Argon
set, I
looked at the
think
Astral
was
Claw, and Sartak
right
saw
around
no fear in his face.
$60, I want to say.
Go
60,
ahead, Corsair.
65 maybe at
Argon said
most,
calmly.
somewhere around there.
I always knew you
Yeah,
would
like
kill
60
me in
bucks,
the
I
end.
think. I was thinking,
Sartak
oh, it's
squeezed
like
the
the,
trigger
it's like the
twice.
price of a video
The white
game or
scar
something like
died
that.
without sound or complaint.
That was a starter
and
set.
fell
That's
with
where
an
we
echoing
started.
thud onto the metal floor of the great
We
bay.
still have all the homies right here in the drawer.
Not
we
for the
haven't.
last time, innocent blood stained the
We got to go
unholy
back
ground
and
of
fix them up a little
Blackheart's
bit since
temple.
these were my first guys. I
Huron
kind of
Blackheart smiled.
I did my best
and his
at the
insane
time, but
joy
now that
was
I've gotten
almost
better,
as terrible as his anger.
we're gonna fix them up a
Welcome
little bit.
home, Sartak. You've been away too long.
And then my second box was this one, and it just came with 3 Space Marines, 3 Infernus Marines, which is like not sure how much this one was. This one was a gift,
of Huron's warship.
but there was
had
only
been
3
2
little
days
guys
since
with
his
more
return,
paints and paints that
and
I
at
didn't
last
have
it seemed
before, so
safe
we
for
went
him to
back and
move
we
about
touched up
freely.
some of the guys.
The
And
Blood
now we're on
Reaver's
our-
small fleet
on our
was even
third
now
box.
cruising through the maelstrom, heading for an
And
unknown
we got also another
destination.
a paint box on its
Excitement
own
ran high amongst
that
the Red
comes with
Corsairs, for Huron
think it was
Blackheart
like-
had promised them booty and blood aplenty.
12 paints, maybe?
Sartak
12?
tried
I don't
to
remember how
appear
many paints
calm
exactly, but it
as
came
he
with
searched
a
the
box
ship
of
for
paint.
Lothar. By now, his friend should have
now
discovered
I have a
where
whole
the
bunch of
attack was
paints.
to fall.
And
he had won a
a
place amongst
couple of
Huron's
doubles.
inner
I got a couple
circle.
of doubles of paints, like the
But the
blues
man
for
had
the
not
Space
been in his
Marines,
quarters,
because
nor
I need a
was
lot of
he in the
blue to
galley.
cover those guys up.
Now, Sartak was
golds.
forced to roam the great ship almost at random.
We
hoping
we
to
still
find
need
his
more
friend
paints,
before it was
but
too late.
at least we have like most of
The
the
Astral
basics
Claw
for
found
the
himself
Space
heading
Marines
deeper into the bowels
and
of the
the
labyrinthian
Tyranids.
ship. The corridors stank of stale blood, and he began to see skulls
And
and
we're done.
bones
I think
littering
we're
the
doing
grilled
all
walkway.
right. The paint set
This was the part
is
of the ship claimed by the followers of Khorne, and Sartak
is
usually
about
went out of his way to
is
avoid
about
it.
about
But
30
he
bucks.
must find
Paint set,
Lothar.
yeah, dude. The paint
And
set
this
came
was one
with
of the few places he had not searched.
came with paint, a
Sartak had
brush.
seen no one
I
for
think it
almost
actually
an
came with
hour,
pliers too. No,
and this only added to
Maybe
his
not.
agitation. Something was going on. He could sense it.
yeah, dude.
Then he
I
heard
think it's
distant
fun.
howls from up
It's-
ahead, and his heart sank.
If
As he
yeah, I don't know.
approached,
If you
Sartak could
enjoy
hear
that
the
sort of
roar of a
thing, you'll have
crowd
fun with it. It's
and
definitely
cries
worth
of
it.
blood for
If
the
not,
blood
try it
god.
out, man. Try
At
it out
last,
if you like
Sartak
it.
emerged into a wide
Dude,
cargo bay
welcome to
and
the
stopped in
hobby.
alarm.
And
All
everybody's
of
cool as
Huron's
fuck too.
cornate followers were assembled in a
Everybody's at
circle of crimson and
got a lot
gold,
of my subscribers
surrounding two
from
combatants.
these
Even
paint
above the
parties.
shrieks for blood,
We're not
Sartak
painting
could hear
right
the
now,
distant
but
whir of a chain
these
axe.
Warhammer parties,
He
Warhammer
knew
stuff.
with cold
People are always
certainty
helping
that this
out
was
with
no ordinary
tips and
combat.
tricks and what not to
Pushing himself through
do
the
and
frenzied warriors,
what this is called
Sartak
and
finally got
how
a
is
view
this
of the
supposed to
combatants,
go and
and his
well,
worst fears were
that's the thing.
confirmed.
They say, well, it's supposed
At
to
the
go like
center of the
that,
circle was
but it's your
Lothar,
thing, so you can
stripped
do it
to the
however.
waist and
Oh,
armed
cool,
with a
thanks.
chainsword. His opponent was
Yeah,
Crassus,
so, yeah,
a
pretty cool. The
renegade
community's cool.
ultramarine
The
who was
40k community
Khorne's
is
chosen
dope.
champion amongst the
I've
Red
enjoyed it.
Corsairs. Dark and wiry, Lothar was an experienced fighter, true enough.
And if you don't,
But
I
Crassus
mean,
was a
you're young, so
bloody-handed
your eyes are
psychopath,
probably pretty
a
good.
forehead taller
My
than
eyes,
him,
my
with
eyes,
few
even when I
equals
was
in hand-to-hand
young, weren't
combat.
that good, and now they're.
This is not a
I had
duel,
laser eye surgery, so
Sartak
they
thought
were
grimly.
they were good for a little
This
while. They're
is
still pretty
slaughter.
good, but you know they
Khorne
could be better.
demands a sacrifice.
The berserkers chanted wildly.
Blood. Blood for Khorne.
Lothar! Sartak bellowed and tried to break through the ring of blood-hungry berserkers. But half a dozen arms
But
held
yeah,
him back.
if you have like
Lothar
bad
caught
eyesight
sight
or
of him,
trouble with eyes,
but
I
was fully
suggest getting one of
engaged in
these.
trying to fend off Crassus.
A second set of
The
eyes.
chain axe of the insane warrior
This has helped a lot.
hammered
It's
down
for, like,
upon
jewelry.
Lothar's chainsword,
Jewelers use
driving
this
the
to like pick
weary
up their
warrior
jewelry and
back
shit.
with
Yeah.
every blow.
But it works
Sartak could
perfect for
see
the
that
little
Lothar was
homies.
bleeding from many wounds. Each time he parried, the Marine was just a little slower, while Crassus seemed to grow stronger with each blow. As the howls for blood reached a frenzied pitch, Crassus roared and smashed the chainsword from his opponent's hands, and in the same fluid movement, buried the axe in Lothar's chest. The chewing blades of the chain axe tore through Lothar's flesh, and he screamed in pain as his hot lifeblood gushed all over the crazed berserker.
Blood for the blood god.
The mob roared, and then, bearing Khorne's chosen one aloft,
Crassus. Crassus.
"No!" Sartak screamed, and ran where to his dying friend lay. Forgotten. Lothar lay on his back, his chest a bloody rain, Still, he yet lived. Sartak knelt next to him. "Forgive me, Lothar," he said. "I couldn't find
Take a
you.
little glue on that guy now.
I was
The one with the
discovered." Lothar gasped.
Oh, the one with
blood
the 3
frothing on his
Marines and the
lips.
paint is $30.
But
Okay.
the attack will fall on Razia.
Damn, dude, where
Emperor, redeem us. His ravaged body convulsed one last time and lay still.
This one right here.
Around Sartak, the berserkers of Khorne howled in savage
Okay,
celebration.
this is about
Soon they
$30
were
for this
fighting
guy.
furiously
This
amongst
one's pretty cool.
themselves, driven
Get
mad by the
started on.
sight
They're a little
and
different, what
smell
I
of
noticed.
freshly spilled blood.
The Space Marines. Also,
Taking
in the
advantage of the
beginner
mayhem,
box set, this
Sartak
introductory
slipped back
set,
into the welcome
the one with the red that
darkness.
says "Start Here" up on top. These were no
Sartak
glue
sat alone in his
required.
chambers, still covered
So,
with the blood
like,
of
no
his only
glue.
friend.
These are push-fit pieces.
Now Lothar
like
and Argon
Legos,
were both dead,
which are
and
pretty cool.
Sartak knew
I
it
mean,
was up to him
that's
to
all right.
finish
But now
Huron
that
Blackheart alone.
if you're not doing like the
astral
beginner
claw
box,
shook with
they're not
barely repressed
push-fit.
fury
They
as he thought about
they
the
fit
lifeless body
nicely,
of
but you have
Lothar
to glue them.
and of his own fall
You
from
then
the
you got to get
Emperor's
yourself some of
grace.
this plastic cement,
Sartak's
extra
blood burned
thin.
for
I'm still
vengeance on
learning, but
Blackheart.
people get like
But a
2 bottles
small
of this,
inner voice
and one
crooned
they
to
keep
him
like
to
this,
wait.
just normal, and
A
then
relic of
the
his
other one
reaving
they start
days,
throwing all
or a clear sign of
their
impending
extra
madness.
like
The voice tempted
the skeleton
and
of
chided
this.
his
They
soul.
start throwing it inside
would
of
be
here,
so
and it makes
easy, the voice
like
told him,
a thicker
to stay
goo
with
where you
Blackheart
can cover
and
up
maintain
holes.
his loyalty.
There's a hole somewhere, just a little tiny bit
Yes.
of a gap. You can put
So
some of it in there, and
easy, Sartak reflected.
fill it in.
But he had followed the easy path for far too many years. Sartak remembered those dark days on Badab,
Damn.
when Huron had
Maybe
poisoned
we'll
the
check that out
astral
here in a
claws
little
against
bit.
the Emperor.
There's also a trailer for
Loyal to his
the game
chapter
that I
master,
might be playing
as
here
a
in a
space
little
marine
while.
should be,
There's a trailer for like
followed
a,
him
an
into
update
heresy.
they had. So I wanted to check
But
that
the
out
years
too.
of reaving had taken their toll
maybe
on
in a
the
little
once
bit we'll check those
idealistic
out.
warrior. Like a sleeping man, jarred to consciousness, Sartak had opened his eyes to the depravity and corruption of the man once known as the Tyrant of Badab.
See.
With this shocking awakening, Sartak had realized that there
Let
was
me
only
just glue
one
a
way
little
to
bit
make good his
more,
betrayal of the
Free
Emperor.
up a couple more pieces and we'll
If
check out those
I
trailers.
must add my own blood to that of Argon and Lothar,
He snarled aloud.
then let that be my
Area
penance.
51, that's what word on the
Sartak
street is,
drew in
bro.
a deep breath and steadied his beating heart. Now,
Unless
it
Phil's
was time
trolling.
to finish what he had started.
No.
The
Not
astral
trolling,
claw
are ya,
knelt
Phil?
on the floor and pulled a small cloth bag from between the folds of his
That
bunk.
was just a teaser.
Reaching inside,
Like a
he
super
pulled
short
out the
little
Imperial Tarot.
10
The magical
second.
paraphernalia cluttered about his chamber was just for
Clip.
show. Mere superstitious
So
frippery.
yeah, that fits nicely. Once
Huron
you look
was
and it like,
strangely
fits
proud of his
nicely, it
sorcerers,
doesn't look
and
all
Sartak had been
janky.
forced to act the part.
And you know it's going to be
Runic
all right.
wands,
Put a little
talismanic
glue
skulls,
on that guy and you're good
and
to
ancient
go.
icons lay strewn about haphazardly. The accoutrements
And do your
of his
best to follow the
obscene
directions,
trade.
because if you don't,
Now all Sartak needed was the
Sometimes
purity of the tarot to
you'll end up
communicate with the
with,
White Scar ship,
the wrong
which
pieces on the
circled
wrong pieces. So
maelstrom
far, it doesn't
in
seem like
eager
it's too bad,
anticipation of his message.
but like
It
the
was
legs
time
and the
for him to
pelvis of
take
one of the
on once
homies
again
should
the
be
mantle
on a
of Space
different
Marine,
torso of the other
librarian,
guy.
and
But
astral claw.
yeah. I mixed
Sartak
things up,
knelt
wanting to
and
make a
shuffled the
different guy
tarot.
first, but
Focusing his
Sorry.
mind, he drew 3 cards
this is
from
how
the
we
top
learn,
of the
right?
deck,
30
and placed them
seconds, hell
face
yeah,
down.
nice. That's actually pretty good.
Holding his breath, he flipped them over
30
one by
seconds,
one.
30 seconds is pretty good.
Horror. Revealed before him were the Emperor reversed, the Tower and the Ecclesiarch reversed. Sartak suppressed the shock of such an ill-omened hand, quickly reminding himself that he was not divining, but reforging long-broken lines of communication. Trying to forget the grim portents thus revealed, Sartak concentrated on the Tower. Chanting quietly, he envisioned
Six-cylinder
the tower
samurai,
in the
what up?
distance,
Thank you for being
across the
here.
great
Don't you
tide
gotta
of the
glue the
warp.
2 halves of the
Casting his
torso
mind
with
outward,
the legs in
Sartak fell
place?
into a deep trance. Always he kept the tower foremost in his mind.
I wasn't gonna glue
as he
them
searched for
together
the spirit
first.
of the White
I just
Scar
wanted to see that they
librarian he
looked
knew to be
nice.
waiting.
And they had no
The
fat
warp
gaps or
embraced him as it
you know,
always did,
didn't look too
comforting
janky.
him like a
As long as it
mother
looks
it
good
tried to suck
now,
him
I'm
to
gonna
its
put
womb.
this on the legs first, as it
Further
should
and
go,
further he reached,
and then
beyond the
the
gibbering
front
hordes of
after.
demonic creatures which implored him for his soul.
But I was just doing a
Then,
quick eyeball.
At the last, the jolt of
Stonehenge?
contact.
Yeah.
Across the warp, their minds came
Do I get in
together.
trouble for playing the
and
music?
in an instant,
People
it
play
was
music
done.
videos, right? And they do like
Razia.
reactions to
He
music videos, right?
The attack falls on Razia.
Should be able to play a
Information
song or
delivered.
two.
Sartak broke the
I don't
contract
know if I'm getting mad
and
at me and
fled
kicking
back
me,
across
though.
the void to the safety
Kicking
of
me
his
while
own
I'm
body.
down.
It was
Maybe this is
finished.
the first before the second one comes out. Oh yeah, dude.
Before
Yeah.
Sartak could
First one's
so
good.
much as stand, there was a
I'll
rending
have
crash as the
ask
door
my
to his
parents
chamber
and
was
see if
smashed
they,
open.
if they still
Standing
have
in the
the
doorway
DVD like
was Huron
on
Blackheart,
hand, or if it's
flanked by the
put
tall,
away somewhere.
cadaverous figure of Garlon Soul Eater.
since
the
DVD
tyrant's
players are a
most
thing of the
potent
past
sorcerer.
these days.
Sartak jumped to his feet,
I
scattering
still
the
got a DVD
Imperial
player,
tarot
but
across the
a lot of
floor.
people,
Great tyrant! I had
a lot of people
not
of the younger
expected you.
kind.
He
It's all-
stammered
it's all about
hastily,
streaming.
knowing with certainty that the tarot had shown him the future after all.
All right, here we go.
No,
There it is.
I don't suppose you did.
Huron laughed. The Chaos Leader shrugged towards his twisted sorcerer.
Garlon tells me that you have been communicating with the White Scars. And I wanted
Yo,
to come
this
and thank you
glue is
personally.
hella strong, bro.
Thank me, Lord.
Definitely leave that cap on.
Sartak let his hand rest on the hilt of his
It's
force
like
sword,
stronger than
yet maintained a pretense of servitude a while longer.
I don't know what it's stronger than, but it's pretty strong.
Yes,
gives that
Astral
nose
Claw.
just a oof.
Most certainly.
The tyrant grinned maliciously.
I wanted to thank you for
Chapter.
telling the White
I'm just going with
Scars that
what's on
I
the
would be
box for
attacking
right now.
Razia.
So I guess
Huron continued,
just a space marine.
his words dripping
blue homies?
irony.
A touching
I'm
show
still noobing it up a little
of
bit. But since I have
misplaced
other space marines from the
loyalty.
other starter boxes that
The
I
Corsair's
did, we're
voice
just gonna keep
rose to
going
a
with space
thundering
marines
growl,
for right now.
and he stabbed his
But eventually,
power-clawed
I'd like to do
Sartak.
some
Especially
Blood
when you
Angels,
consider
some
that I've
Black
changed my
Templars.
mind.
one of
Changed
each.
your
I almost
mind?
did one of each from this
Sartak
since
gasped,
I haven't played
taken
yet. I haven't
aback.
learned to play. I was thinking of doing
What?
like one
Huron waved his
Salamander,
hand
one
dismissively.
Templar, one
Well,
Angel,
No,
one Space
lie.
Marine.
I haven't changed my mind.
What's the
as
white one's
such.
called?
We never were.
Wait, is it a white Templar? And they're Black Templar or White Templar?
Sartak
No, no,
began
no.
to see the trap which had been
There's a
set
white
for
one that
him,
looks pretty cool too.
and his grip was firm upon his force sword.
But since we're just going with
You
Space Marines, it's
twisted evil.
so I can eventually learn
What do you mean?
to play one day,
The
and I'll
tyrant
have an
laughed
army
widely
ready
at
to
this
go.
show of bravado, and beside him Garlon clapped politely in mock applause.
We are, in fact, headed for Santiago.
You know what? It probably is,
Blackheart
dude, because
paused
this
to let
glue
the
like
awful truth
melts
sink in.
the plastic
Thanks
just a
to
little
you,
bit, so they
however,
like fuse
the White
together.
Scars will be far
And
away when the Red
They
Corsairs sweep
they
down on
virtually
that
won't come
helpless
apart
planet.
unless it breaks.
The tyrant
Not like
grinned
super
again,
glue. Super glue will
obviously
pop right
delighted
off
with the
and
astral claw's
not really break
terrified
the shit.
expression.
White Scar.
Sartak staggered
Okay,
backwards, overwhelmed
Damn.
by the enormity of what he had done.
I'm gonna have to look into their
Santiago.
lore. I don't even think I've
But
heard too
why?
much of the White
He
Scars.
whispered,
I've watched
horrified.
lore faction videos,
There's
but
nothing to steal there.
I just remember the
of no
white,
military
the
significance
white
at all.
armor more.
Garlon rubbed his bony hands together eagerly,
Yeah.
his wet
I'll
tongue
have to
licking
check
his
that
thin
out.
lips
Thanks,
in
dude.
anticipation of some future pleasure.
But you are
Put
mistaken.
this guy right on.
There's one thing Santiago does have.
Huron
All in the
gloated,
right spot.
clapping Garlon on the back.
Santiago has millions upon millions of defenseless citizens.
Garlon whinnied in helpless pleasure. The sorcerer's eyes rolled in his head, and he silently mouthed the words, "Blood and skulls." Huron laughed mockingly. Sartak felt cold fury burning in his skull. The tyrant continued.
And what do you think would happen in the warp, my loyal little sorcerer, were I to offer up the blood of 1 billion victims on one night?
"You butcher!" Sartak screamed. "I followed you! I trusted
Yeah.
you! And you led me straight to hell!" In his mind, he commended his soul to the Emperor. He knew what he must do. "In the name of all that is holy, it stops here!" he yelled, dragging his foresword from its scabbard and charging the
together.
Blood Reaver, howling his fury.
Yeah, that's what they recommend.
Huron
This,
Blackheart met Sartak's charge with a cry of
extra
delight,
thin
parrying the foresword with his great metal claw.
Timmer!
The
Extra
sword,
thin
pulsing
cement.
with psychic energy, sparked and shrieked as it strove to tear the claw asunder.
It works wonders. The only
But the
thing that I
forbidden
don't like
technology
about
powering
it,
the
well, it's
tyrant's
not that I
claw
don't like
proved
about
too
it.
strong.
It's just that I'm
After long
an
moments
impatient
of
bastard and I want
sinew and
shit
muscle,
stuck right then
Sartak
and there
was
when I
forced to pull his
touch it,
sword away,
like super glue.
backing
But
up as far
I
as he
just hold
could
it
in
for
the
like
cramped
30
confines
seconds
of
and
the
they say that's
chamber.
enough. 30
Sartak
seconds is
quickly
cool
uttered a
enough for
calming
it to be good
prayer
for them.
before focusing his mind
But yeah, super
and
glue, I
unleashing a
get it in there,
psychic blast at
hold it for a
Blackheart's
second, boom,
diseased
done,
consciousness.
good to go.
The
I actually
energy
use
of
super glue on a
righteousness
couple
roared
of
within him,
these
and the
pieces,
bolt
but
flew clear
I
and
want to
true.
refrain from using super glue
But
as much as I
Garlon
can.
Soul Eater,
I'll only use
soaked in
super
the
glue
black
when like,
energies
I
of
have a
chaos,
really
deflected
stubborn
the blow
dumb
with a
piece
casual
that
flick of
won't
his skeletal
stay
thin
there,
wrist.
won't do
All
its
the
thing.
while
I
cackling
need
with
it to stick
perverse
right now.
pleasure.
When I get too impatient later on down the line,
Be none of that, Sartak.
His voice oozed mockingly into the Marine's mind.
Goodbye, our lovely traitor.
The Blood Reaver closed on Sartak, even as Garlon's twisted laughter echoed inside his skull. There was no more time for psychic trickery.
Damn, dude,
As the tyrant attacked
how long is
with all
that
the
big
power
bottle
at his
gonna
disposal,
last me?
It was all the
If I
astral
do,
claw
like,
could do to parry the
because I've been
whirling
working on
power
this
axe
box for
and merciless claws.
probably like a
Sartak
month and a
held his
half now.
foresword in both hands, trying to keep
And then the
Huron
first
at
box
bay with
took
great
me
sweeps of the
a
deadly
hot
blade.
month also, maybe a little longer.
Huron
I mean,
would not
I'm
be
not
denied
like
blood.
Jay over there at
With a
Eons of Battle
scream
that
of
can
rage and
that
bitter
can do
satisfaction,
hundreds of
the
minis in
tyrant
like 10
slammed
minutes.
Sartak's blade into the wall
But
and pinned it there with his
maybe one
axe.
day I'll be that good.
The sword was
But it takes
motionless
me a
for just a
minute,
few
so I
seconds.
don't know. Some of
as
this,
Sartak tried in
some of
vain
that big
to
bottle
wrench the
of glue will
glittering
take
weapon
me
free,
a while to get through.
but that was enough time
no, that's
for
down. That's
Blackheart
such a good
to
idea.
close his great claw
Just keep
over
filling it up.
Sartak's exposed wrists.
Throw it in my closet, and
With a
whenever I need to
wicked
fill
grin,
it up,
the
fill it
Blood
up.
Reaver snapped the
Forget
claw
about
shut
it.
with a
Hell yeah,
sickening
dude.
crunch.
A long time. Hell
Howling
yeah.
in pain, Sartak fell to his
I
knees,
saw like a
staring
video
in horror
short
at the bleeding
on
stumps.
YouTube of like a guy that
Huron
had a
stood over
spool of
Sartak,
wire, a
looking
big
with
spool of
disdain
wire,
at the wretch at his feet.
and he's an older guy now, but he only had like a
Now,
little bit of
wouldn't
the
you?
spool of wire left.
Last of the
He's sitting
astral
there,
claws.
and his like daughter is
Sartak
the
would
one
not answer.
recording him.
He
She's
watched
like,
his
"Dad, what's
lifeblood
wrong?"
slowly pump
He's like,
away,
"I've had the spool of
knowing that
wire
he had
my whole
failed
life.
utterly.
Now it's almost gone. You get it?"
Blackheart walked
She's like,
around
"Oh, I'm
Sartak's
sorry, Dad."
prone
And
form,
like, no, dude, she
crushing
didn't
the
get
tarot
it.
cards
Like, I
that
think
still lay
about,
on the floor.
bro, yep.
But
Our
a hero's
lives
death is not for you.
are that spool of
He
wire.
taunted as he brought
Got
his
a limited
leering
amount.
face close to Sartak's bloody
Do what you can with your spool of wire.
Sartak
for
groaned
good.
aloud, but he could not bring himself to meet the tyrant's gaze.
Alright, what's that next piece?
No. There will be no redemption for you, Sartak.
The tyrant
Oh,
howled
it looks
in
like
glee.
now the armor pieces
Instead, I will give
Knee
you the
pads
greatest gift an
and
astral
hip
claw could
guards.
hope for.
Laughing with delight, Huron Blackheart turned to the capering
So
sorcerer.
knee pads 60 and
Take him
63.
away, Garlon, and make this sad wretch a hero to
60
be
and
proud of.
63.
Garlon's mind reached out and smashed through Sartak's weakened defenses. The astral claw fell into blackness.
They're 63. Hell yeah.
Sartak awoke in
60's
total,
over here.
unutterable
Boom, boom, boom.
darkness. Surprised to be alive, he tried to get up, to move, but found that he could not. Straining his limbs, he slowly realized that needles invaded his body, and unknown wires were entwined around his limbs. Some kind of mask was clamped to his face. Sartak tried to talk, but he choked on the array of tubes
And
that
then
had
hip
been rammed down his
guards,
throat. In
59
panic,
and
he tried to
62.
cast his mind into the warp, but
Oh,
found
there's
that his
62.
powers had been
Oh, yeah.
suppressed. After what felt like long, desperate hours of thrashing blindly in the darkness,
59.
Sartak lay in the
59, I got
blackness
59,
and
need
waited.
59, looking for 59.
Huron would come to taunt him soon
Yeah,
enough.
am I gonna really have to go to another sprue?
Sartak waited and waited, cut off from feeling and perhaps time itself. How long have I been so? He wondered. Hours. Days. Time had lost its meaning. Still Huron did not come. What have you done to me? The panicked librarian screamed silently. Have I been jettisoned into the emptiness of space
Or
in an escape
that's what I'm
capsule?
talking about, using the wrong
Will I
pieces,
fall
because I might have
forever in
already
the
taken
void?
that piece out.
How would that make me a hero?
77
His
and
mind cast about,
74.
trying to find an answer, but to no avail. Nothing made any sense at all.
59 and 62. Already took 62
In a flash of
out.
realization, it all became clear. Sartak remembered his one walk beyond the Great Seal. He remembered seeing the maddened members of the Red Corsairs encased forever in coffins of adamantium,
59.
sealed up
I
in the
need a
Great Temple until
59,
battle
you
called.
guys.
Sartak
I'm
knew
tripping.
beyond doubt that the life
I'm
support
blind.
systems of a dreadnought could keep a man alive indefinitely. But what if the sarcophagus were never to be hooked into a dreadnought?
Oh, it is 59. Hell yeah.
What if a man was locked inside and left to rot for all eternity? What then?
Woohoo! Oh, that's what I
Sartak
use the
tried
super
desperately
glue
to think of another
for, you
possible
guys.
explanation
For these
his
little
plight,
pieces. So this piece,
but the logic was cold.
this piece, like, you
and
have to, like, hold it
inescapable.
there, and it just
The
wasn't
epiphany of
having it with
horror
the cement
crashed into
glue.
his consciousness
So I
with
used the super glue,
unstoppable
and it was
power.
perfect.
He could not
There's
even
nothing there for
scream.
you.
A
There's nothing
sanity
there for you.
fled. In the frigid darkness of the maelstrom,
My
the
cat's
fleet
getting
of
into stuff she
Huron
shouldn't get
Blackheart
into.
tore
Hey,
through space, destined
What?
for
What are you
doomed
doing?
Santiago. The Blood Reaver was on his way to offer up 1 billion souls to the dark gods
there's
of
our
chaos.
friend Cosmo. Cosmotron. What's up, buddy? Say hello. Alright, get out of here, little scamp. No, not up there. Down.
Get 24-hour continuous relief that doesn't.
Go to the next one. Next video. Let's see. Something good. Something good. Praise Sight, Son of Darkness. Down. Brothers Darkness. Charlie Murphy. You guys seen the Chappelle Show? Dude. So funny.
The name of Azal Thalek had grown until it had become a byword for terror across
No.
the breadth and
Get down.
width of
Get
the
down, get down,
Eastern
get down.
Fringe. He was the captain of the Night Lord's 47th Company, and he had lingered too long. From across the stellar wastes, the Primarch had summoned him, seeking to gather his scattered sons to his side once more. Yet still he had lingered in the Delphana system for 3 weeks. 3 indulgent, blood-filled weeks that had seen another cut made in the fraying fabric of the false Emperor's fraudulent Imperium. The isolated backwater system proving too bountiful a prize for him to abandon so readily. Yet, those 3 weeks had come at a cost. Perhaps, had he heeded Kurz's command and recalled his legionaries the moment the astropathic communique had been received and deciphered, the fickle tides of the Immaterium would have borne him swiftly back to the Carrion world in time for him to attend his father's audience. Perhaps. Or perhaps not.
Perhaps.
The
Or
vagaries
perhaps
of
not.
warp travel rendered such speculations pointless, yet the possibility still preyed upon the Night Lord's mind, festering like an infected wound that refused to heal. And I have no one to blame. No one save myself, Thalak thought as he stood on the shadowed command deck of the Abyssal Dirge, his massive battle barge. Beside him, ship mistress Lesreitha all but sweated blood as she issued a constant stream of course corrections to her overworked bridge crew. Each new order punctuated by a scathing curse in a different Nostroman dialect as the Dirge and her escort frigates jockeyed for a suitable position at high anchor above the desolate orb of Zagwulsa. The murderous commanders of the 8th Legion had all arrived before him like crows drawn to a carcass. Sho Sahal, Vandrid Anrathi, Kor Mas, Calandra Quickblade, and Naraka the Bloodless, to name but a few. Even the young upstart Captain Krieg Achaebus had reached the Primarch's side ahead of him. The 47th was not merely late in returning. The 47th was the last company to return. The Lord Kurz was going to be displeased. Thalek's gauntleted hands clenched unconsciously at the thought, betraying his nascent unease. It had only been after the dirge's turbulent translation back into real space that he had learned the Legion had been fully mustered in system not for days, nor weeks, but for months. His brother's midnight blue and bronze warships thronged the bridge's oculus screens in their hundreds, each one a void-faring colossus, capable of laying waste to entire worlds. In the last 3 minutes alone, Thalek had personally responded to over a score of hails and challenges, some from brother legionaries, others from harried human shipmasters who had barely bothered to address him in a manner befitting an Astartes of his exalted rank. Something was amiss. On any other occasion, such a colossal display of tardiness from a commander of Thalek's standing would have drawn the notice of his rival captains as surely as the scent of fresh blood draws the attention of prowling predators to a wounded prey beast. His peers would have wasted no time in subtly mocking his pathetic straggling response to the Primarch's summons, reveling shamelessly in his misfortune. Yet the voices of the legionaries who hailed him seemed dispirited and despondent even over the Vox, as if all vitality and sense of purpose had been bled from their hearts. Their once bitter resolve now supplemented by a bleak resignation. They cared nothing for his late arrival, and he found their lack of interest both vexing and concerning.
Lord Captain.
Forcing his fists to unclench, Thalek turned to regard his shipmistress with eyes as black and as pitiless as the airless void surrounding them. Lesraitha sat ramrod straight in the dirge's command throne, exhaustion plain upon her pale face, though her Legion uniform remained immaculate as always, despite being stripped of all Imperial insignia. The ceaseless demands and pressures of her position had prematurely greyed her dark hair, and a faint tremor was detectable in her hand as she proffered the Legionary a data slate containing the battle barge's updated status reports.
The dirge is as close to Zalgusa as I dare to risk bringing her, my lord,
she said, too weary to maintain the air of cultivated formality she always utilized whenever she had to address him, though she was still careful to keep her eyes averted from his unhelmed face.
Any more maneuvering on my part will only incite Captain Vandred further.
Thalek bared his filed teeth in a predatory grin, amused at being the cause of his brother's discomfort. Vandred's own warship, the Covenant of Blood, was now close enough to be descried beyond the starboard viewports by the naked human eye. The Night Lord raised his left hand. 3 serrated adamantine blades, each one painted a bright arterial crimson, slid soundlessly from the housings of his lightning claw gauntlet. Lesraitha's heart rate spiked, and the trembling of her hand grew even more pronounced.
Does my dear brother Vandred command this vessel then?
Thalek asked quietly, as he casually turned the blood-red blades this way and that, carefully examining each razor-keen tine as if searching for some flaw or imperfection only he could see.
No, my lord. You are our master and commander. I live only to carry out your will.
Lesraitha fought and failed to keep her voice steady. Savoring the fear seeping from her every pore, the Night Lord leaned in closer, the servo joints of his Mark V warplate purring smoothly. The woman instinctively shrank back, her jaw tightening and her breathing quickening as she struggled to keep her composure. She was bold and strong-willed for a human, and it always pleased Thalek to remind her of her fragile mortality.
You are not going to live for much longer if you think the desires of my brothers should take precedence over my own,
the legionary said with a soft hiss.
The abyssal dirge will maintain stationary orbit at this anchorage, not because it is Vandred's will, but because it is mine. I do hope you are able to understand the difference between the two, Shipmistress Lesraitha.
I understand perfectly, Lord Captain,
she replied with forced calm through gritted teeth, her suppressed anger almost as delectable as her fear. Thalek rested the tips of his claws on her shoulder, enjoying the way she flinched beneath their touch.
Excellent. I am glad we are clear on the matter.
Ignoring the data slate she still held, he retracted the blades and strode to the end of the observation dais, overlooking the sunken multi-tiered command pit, and the hundreds of human officers and chattering servitors who oversaw the dirge's myriad internal functions. He had been looking forward to joining his brother captains in the screaming gallery at the heart of Kurz's dark fortress. Now the anticipation of standing in the Primarch's presence had crumbled to ash, for although the battle barge's cargo holds fairly groaned with plunder and fresh slaves, Thalak knew his crusade spoils would mean little in the grand scheme of things if the Night Haunter's displeasure was great enough to see his gauntlets stained with the Sinner's red. Behind him, the bridge's thick adamantium blast doors rumbled open. Power-armored footfalls rang heavily upon the deck. Thalak did not turn. Even without his helmet's auto-sensors, he recognized the two legionaries by their distinctive treads and the unique servo growls emitted by their warplate. Unlike him, they had arrived precisely on time.
You have served me well,
he said, addressing the mortal crewmen at their workstations below him. Their bustling movements stilled, and their quiet talk ceased as they glanced up fearfully at the gene-forged transhuman who had deigned to regard them from his lofty perch.
By your collective endeavors we have returned to Zagulsa, the splendid new homeworld of our glorious Legion. For this you have my thanks. I go now to attend upon the Lord Kurz. Talon Master Vath will command the ship in my absence. You will follow his every order as if it were my own. Do not be found wanting in his sight.
He left the overlook before the stunned humans could formulate a response. Talon Master Vath, the most decorated and respected of Thalak's senior officers, stood beside the command throne, his eviscerated chainsword planted upright on the deck before him. Under his direction, a cadre of the company's most skilled artificers had cunningly refashioned his Corvus pattern helm to resemble that of a snarling jackal's skull. Yet it often seemed to Thalak as if the skull was grinning at him instead. Flanking the Talon Master, menacing and magnificent in a polished ceremonial suit of Mark IV power armor, worthy of any Imperial parade ground, his ornate bat-winged helm held in the crook of one arm, stood Teled Svaka, the 47th undefeated champion and Thalak's strong right hand.
We might have to go super
long
glue.
Black hair was tied back in a warrior's horsetail, and his most recently acquired trophy weapon, a master-crafted thunderhammer torn from the dying grasp of an Imperial Fist lieutenant, was mag-clamped across his power pack.
Azal, brother.
Svaka greeted him with a slight bow, his deceptively soft voice almost serene in its measured cadence.
Since when are you in the habit of giving spontaneous thank you speeches to the crew, Captain?
Vath asked with brazen familiarity,
is the
his
right
amusement
side.
evident even through his Vox speakers.
Since our father sent me a missive an hour ago demanding a private audience as soon as we reached upper orbit,
Thalak said, as he donned his old Mark III helmet.
You have overall command. If
I want to make sure which one goes on which
whining
side.
about proximity margins again, tell him he should try moving his own shit junker of a ship for a change. In slightly more diplomatic terms, of course. Svaka alone shall accompany me to the surface. No other legionaries are to leave the dirge for any reason unless directly summoned by the Primarch.
Never mind.
By your will, Captain.
The Talon Master clashed an armored fist against his chestplate in acknowledgement. Yes, the jackal's skull was indeed grinning.
Come, Telid,
Thalak said as he stalked impatiently from the bridge, his champion following at his heels.
We have kept Kurz waiting long enough.
Upon the barren, dust-swept surface of dead Sa-Gawulsa, there was but one solitary bastion capable of sustaining human life. And from the depths of its deepest dungeons to the pinnacles of its highest towers,
You know what would be cool?
anarchy, pain, and
If,
the corrosive madness of a broken demigod
Morgan
held
Freeman
uncontested sway
could
over
do,
all. As Thalak and
could
Svaka ventured
do
deeper into their
one of
father's
these
stronghold,
narrations.
striding down long
I mean,
corpse-hung
Vox is
corridors
cool and
that
all,
wept
but
blood from black stone, and traversing
Freeman would be
vast
dope too.
excruciation chambers where captives and condemned slaves writhed and shrieked upon the skinning racks in
Bellatruz,
their hundreds.
thank you.
The
Have a
eyes of
great
the gathered
night. Thank you for
Night
being
Lord
here.
silently tracked their
We're
passing
gonna
from the shadows.
take a break
The
here in a
crimson
minute,
lenses
play a
of their
video game, and
skull-faced
then we're gonna
helms
switch it
glowing
back
like
over to
smouldering
finishing
embers
gluing
in
this
the
guy.
fathomless gloom.
We're doing
No
this a little
one
bit quicker than
challenged
we
them
did
or
last
denied
time.
them
It's
ingress.
been an hour and 10
The bleak
minutes. And
despondency Thalik had sensed
we're
while
already
in orbit
almost done
hung
with
over
most of the
Legion's
torso. We
commanders
just got to
like
get
a
the arms and
suffocating
head
death
on.
shroud, and his unease increased
Doing
as they
all
drew
right, but
closer
thank you
to
for being here.
Kurz's
Thank you for
throne
watching.
room.
We'll catch you again soon.
My,
We'll be back tomorrow for some Stargate SP1
turning out to be.
sometime in the
observed
evening.
With dripping sarcasm.
Hopefully a little earlier
The
than
champion
today.
had donned his own
Then
helm
Friday,
and
or I'm sorry,
spoke over an
Thursday, we got the
encrypted
last
Vox
episode of
channel
Reacher.
only he and Thalik shared. He walked alongside his captain.
Season finale of Reacher on Thursday, and then Friday we got some Star Wars. Not sure what Star Wars, but Star Wars. And then Monday we'll be back with some more anime.
With a contemptuous swagger, the thunder hammer now held loosely in his left fist, wordlessly daring any of the watching Night Lords to challenge their passage.
Our brothers are waiting for something,
Thalik said, feeling the strain
buddy,
of
thanks, man.
expectation beginning to coil in the pit of his
Almost
stomach.
there.
Perhaps the Primarch
Try this
intends to make
again.
an example out of us.
His muscles
Jimmy
tensed
Blue?
involuntarily, the humiliating prospect of a public chastisement causing the unwelcome visions of red-stained gauntlets to grow more vivid in his mind's eye.
You lingered, Azal.
Svaka reminded him without rancor.
Not that I regret our actions. However, I do not believe our brother's anticipation has anything to do with the consequences of our belated return.
The Night Lord turned his head sharply to regard a squad of raptors loitering near the entrance to an armory.
Besides, you are not that unpopular, brother. At least not yet.
Thalak could not.
What do you mean,
deny the
hopefully not
champion's observation,
Phantom Menace?
especially as Svaka was quite correct.
You
on
don't
the
like the
last
Phantom
point.
Menace?
Just when it seemed the two
It was
legionaries would reach
alright.
the screaming gallery without eliciting a confrontation, an enormous, heavily armored man-shape divorced itself from the shadows and stepped across their path. Thalak and Svaka came to an immediate halt. The name engraved in elegant Nostraman script across the venerable warrior's chestplate was familiar to Thalak. Though the last time the two of them had stood together in the same room, the legionary had been alive and pointing a blade at him in anger. Some things never changed.
You are late.
Captain Core Mass boomed in outrage from the Vox amplifiers of a Contemptor dreadnought chassis, whose every available surface had been decorated with the flayed skins of aliens,
That actually
humans,
looks
and
alright
space
right
marines
there.
alike.
We did it. We did it with the Timmy glue.
And you have gained an appalling amount of weight.
Thalak said acidly,
thing
refusing
on
to
his
be
hip,
intimidated by
the
his
guard on his
longtime
hip.
rival.
Actually
With a
stayed.
mechanical roar,
We did
Cormac
all
gunned
right.
the motor of a monstrous chain fist and brandished the brutal weapon of
My
the two
least
Night Lords in
favorite.
open challenge.
It's just Jar
Stand
Jar was
down,
annoying
Kenneth.
throughout the
Thalak
whole
foxed
movie,
urgently
but in
to
my
Svaka.
opinion, you know what,
Do
bro?
not confront
I'm
him.
with you on that.
This is
That's
a fight
actually
you cannot
my
hope to
same
win.
take.
How
It's
would
not
you
my
know?
least favorite.
I have not yet
Actually,
faced the dreadnought in mortal combat.
Svaka
shit, it
said,
actually might
his
be my
voice
least
thick
favorite.
with frustrated battle lust.
3's my
He
favorite.
must
3's
answer
my
for his arrogance,
favorite.
and I wield the
Then
perfect
probably
weapon that shall
6.
see him brought to his knees and
Then
humbled.
5.
Stand down, or I will piss all over your steam
And then-
after he has finished rendering you down to your base elements. We do not have time
Probably
for this.
4.
The Primarch is waiting.
Maybe 2.
Tell
2 and
that
4
to
I
him.
can't decide.
Snarled Svaka as the
And then,
walking
yeah,
gun
and then
casket
probably
Core
1.
Mass inhabited took a threatening step towards them, the teeth of its chain fist
Yeah.
a shrieking blur, and its twin-linked las cannons aimed in their
The Phantom
direction.
Menace is actually next up in line for us
The
to watch,
enraged
unless we do the
dreadnought
special features for the original trilogy first, or the Family Guy 3-parter episode cartoon parody of
So what were you doing,
Star Wars.
Thalak?
we'll do
Starkey
that.
strike cruisers out in the void, tossing wailing children into skinning
Yeah,
pits.
buddy.
What could have possibly
Yeah, I don't know if
taken
it's like a
the place
generation
over our
thing.
father's
Well,
will?
for me, anyways,
I will
because
garland myself with your entrails
a lot of
after
people,
I've made you
the
beg
generation
for
before
death.
me,
You and
like
your pathetic
like
headhunter,
Empire Strikes
Brother Captain
Back more.
Cormass. You do
And
not have the
their
right to challenge
not their
me
excuse, but
until the
people
Night
say
Lord
that it's the
himself has
Ewoks, that was
passed
like
judgment
more
upon my
made for like
deeds.
little kids.
Thalak
And I
said
remember
with
being a
icy
little kid when
calm,
I saw the Ewoks
mindful
and
to
being
keep
like,
his
oh,
hand
those.
away from his
I didn't
holstered
remember
Volkite
thinking like, oh, I
Serpenter
love
as he
you know,
spoke.
teddy bears about them or
His
anything like that. I just
unwavering
remember, oh,
gaze
those
met
guys
the
are
cluster of
cool.
sensor nodes and picked feeds
Those guys
built
are
into the
fun. I'm
Contemptor's
glad they're
recessed
kicking
helm.
the Empire's
Kaz
ass.
has summoned me to an audience.
Yeah, see, Area 51, he
life
knows.
or
He
my
knows how
death
it goes.
is for
Area
him alone to
Empire
decide.
number
Now get
1.
your oversized ass the hell out of my way. The Primarch must not be kept waiting.
There was a long moment of silence from the interred Night Lord.
That was
Then the whirring chain
big
fist
shocker
powered
back in the
down,
day.
and the dreadnought
No,
retreated back into
I
the shifting shadows.
am your father.
His vox voice dropping to a low, bemused rumble.
When all hope is
That
lost,
must mean you do not know
the bad guys
that he
pretty
has
much
yet to tell
won.
you.
Your best
How
buddies
did I
frozen in
but
carbonite,
you are heading in the
hostage.
wrong direction.
You lose your
Father
hand.
no longer holds court in the Screaming Gallery. He lurks now within the high chamber of
The underdog's
topmost
low
tower.
before becoming a Jedi
Perhaps
Knight.
he will forgive you, or perhaps he will rip out your hearts. It matters little either way. Vindication draws near, and we are forbidden
Oh
from turning
yeah,
our
it's
blade
looking good,
aside.
dude.
Refusing to allow the dreadnought's cryptic ramblings to gain a foothold on his already anxious mind, Thalak backtracked for a quarter of a mile before turning left down a dark, unlit passageway whose walls were lined with thousands of silently screaming skulls. A seething Svaka stalked after him, his lightning claws and thunder hammer still unbloodied.
I am coming, Father.
So now it's
Thalak swore aloud
next.
within the
Shoulder
confines of his
pads.
helm as he began to
Oh, the
ascend.
arms first.
And if it is your will, neither I nor Svaka will ever leave your side again.
Means I gotta go back to the arms page. Why did they do the arms all on one page? Still don't get that.
The corridor leading to the topmost chamber was paved with a macabre mosaic of human teeth, and it ended before a single arched doorway. Thalak's skin prickled, and his lips drew back from his teeth as his unease warred with the
were
innate
dope. I
gene-bred
just
desire
like
to hasten to his
Wampas and
father's
Space
side.
Worms more.
The
All
two
right,
Night
I hear
Lords
you.
halted before a heavy door.
Yeah,
wrought
Space
of
Worm was
delicately
wild.
bonded bone. Curs laired within, waiting. No legionary stood sentinel outside his sanctum.
To think
Not
that
even a
there's
pair of the Atramentar Terminator
Space worms
elite. The Primarch
living
had
inside
completely
asteroids.
isolated himself. Stealing his hearts, Thalak faced Svaka and placed a gauntlet on his pauldron.
So I don't think it matters which arm I
Will
do.
you stand alongside Talon Master Vath and
Or
champion
might, we'll
his
find out.
leadership, tell it? You do not need to ask. It will not come to that.
Svaka said softly.
52,
There is no time
53,
for
and 54
sentimentality,
if I
brother.
have them.
The warriors of the 47th will require a firm and resolute commander to lead them in the crusades to come. Vath is the most suitable candidate. Will you support him? It will not come to that. Vath is my chosen successor. Stand by him. Promise me this, tell it, if our friendship means anything to you. You bastard.
Anger tainted the champion's words.
Yes, damn you. You have my promise. I will support Vath.
Thalak removed his helmet and maglocked it at his side, then pushed against the door. It swung smoothly open on silent hinges before fetching up against something soft and wet. The legionary entered the Night Haunter's lightless sanctum alone. Despite the frigid air, a slaughterhouse reek still permeated the bare, unfurnished room. Thalak's enhanced vision briefly marked the freshly dismembered corpses piled haphazardly about in the corners before his eyes settled upon the singular being occupying the center of the chamber. The Primarch, Conrad Kurz, stood in front of a stone
Oh, the
lectern,
non-sword hand
naked,
would have been
save for a
21.
tattered cloak
Okay,
of
so
black
not
feathers.
21.
A thick book
Any of
bound
the
in
other
human
ones,
skin
but
lay
not
open before
21.
him, and the scratching of his quill was akin to the scrabbling of rats' feet. It had been years since Thalak had last beheld his
I know,
progenitor in the
right?
flesh.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
decades
too short.
following the
Definitely
War
needed some more
Master's
screen
defeat
time.
had been unkind to him, and his condition had gradually deteriorated until he was but a gaunt shell of his former self.
Not this
Dried blood
anymore.
coated
I
his
don't think I need
hands,
that
arms,
one.
and mouth, and his tangled hair fell in a filthy curtain about his pallid face.
So
None of this mattered to Thalak. Without hesitation, he went down on one knee and saluted the Dominus Nox.
237 and 8.
I am
237
writing
and
my
8.
autobiography.
The Primarch said without looking up.
It is almost finished. No one should ever read it.
Thalak remained silent, anticipating Kurz's rebuke.
You lingered.
The Night Haunter hissed. A sudden spasm jolted his body, and he set aside his quill.
I summoned you, and you lingered. I await your judgment, Father.
Thalak said. He bowed his head.
My judgment? Ah, no. I have no more judgments to pass upon this accursed galaxy, my son. The time for judgment has ended. The time for vindication comes. I am going to die.
Thalak's heart convulsed within his chest. The world stopped turning beneath his feet. He stared at Kurz in stark disbelief.
Oh, goodness. No. Alright, well.
Yes. The Primarch grinned. A
I'm just gonna
hideous
go with
expression completely
whatever that
bereft
last
of
one
warmth
was.
or mirth.
My father's assassin
56
draws
is right
near.
here. So 56.
Her ship has already entered the eastern fringe. She is coming for me, as I have long foreseen.
7.
No.
Thalak said again as he stood, fighting against the nameless dread threatening to swallow him.
I will stop her. I will kill her. I will gift you her head.
We're just going to go with 82.
I have
That's the one that I
named
can
Talon
find.
Master Sho Zahal as my heir, since Sevatar is lost to me.
Kurz continued, as if he had not spoken.
He will lead the 8th after I am gone. My legionaries will war across the stars in an endless struggle for vengeance, their claws forever red with the lifeblood of my father's
82.
failed
82.
empire until the darkness claims them all, one by one.
Now we need
This is madness.
84.
Thalak snarled,
85.
regaining some of his fortitude. Kurz cocked his head, as if perplexed by his anger.
We are your sons, father. We would never allow such a fate to befall you. This
We'll just go 85.
assassin you
85
speak
looks
of
cool.
will not come within a...
The attack was as swift as it was unexpected. Thalak did not even see the Primarch move. Between the space of one heartbeat and the next, he was torn from his feet and flung across the room in a single motion to land atop a slick mound of mangled corpse parts. Before the Night Lord could regain his footing, Kurz appeared before him as if spewed forth from the very shadows. His rotting teeth bared, his eyes glittering obsidian pits, utterly devoid of all sanity and hope. The Primarch's nimble fingers were curled about the hilt of the legionary's long combat knife. Thalak could not even guess how he had taken it.
I will be vindicated,
Kurz said, expelling a waft of fetid breath so foul it made the Astartes want to vomit.
I have extracted an oath from every one of my captains to that effect. Each has sworn to me neither they nor their men will raise a hand against the assassin. She shall remain unopposed until the deed is done. You are the last Legion commander to return to Zagul, sir. I will hear your oath now. How can you do this to us?
Thalak roared as the Night Haunter leaned over him.
We have all answered your summons. The 8th has mustered in full. Let us leave this world together and forge a new path. Let the assassin hunt in vain amid the blood and carnage of our wake. Take us back to Terra, or into the Eye itself. Declare a new crusade, Father. Let the galaxy scream. You do not have to die here to prove some.
With an animalistic howl, Kurz seized him by the throat and held him aloft. White, hot pain blossomed as the Primarch punched him, once in the groin, thrice in the gut. The combat knife gripped in his fist like a punch dagger. Layers of powered ceramite did nothing to stop the blade from ripping in and out of him faster than his mind could register the damage. Then he was airborne once more. Something vital tore deep inside as he struck the blood-stained floor. Kurz pounced on him before he could rise.
My fate cannot be altered.
The Night Haunter screamed as he wrenched Thalak upright, manhandling him as easily if he were immortal.
Swear. Swear to me you will not interfere. Swear or be left to rot in the dungeons forevermore. I will not stand idly by while you allow some damn bitch to...
He got no further. Kurz lifted him and ran him straight across the chamber. There was just enough time to realize what was about to happen, but not enough to stop it. Kurz himself pulled the blow at the last second. Thalak's reinforced skull met the far wall with a sickening crack. Kurz dropped him in an armored heap. He blacked out, only to regain consciousness a few seconds later. Blood was in his hair, and a veil of crimson clouded his vision. He thought he saw Kurz towering above him, the knife poised to cut his throat. He blinked uncertainly, and then it was Svaka standing over him, crackling energies coiling about the head of his raised thunderhammer. "Do not kill my captain, father." The champion's voice was as cold as a frozen grave.
Why?
The Primarch asked, pacing closer.
I have found him wanting. He is unworthy of your fealty.
"Because he defies you out of loyalty," Svaka said. "He is true to you. And because he is my friend."
Can't tell, are these sprue
"He
lines?
is my only friend." Thalak grimaced inwardly at the legionary's naked honesty and dragged himself into a kneeling position. His entire skull felt as if it was on the verge of coming apart.
Is
At the
that
very least, I
so?
can get rid of just this.
Kurz ran a dark tongue across his thin lips.
Ah, what a pity. There is so little trust to be found in friendship. I once counted Fulgrim as a friend, before he betrayed my confidence to Dawn at Charot. Tell me, is your brother worth dying for? Is he worth suffering for? Is he truly worthy of such selfless devotion?
In answer, Svaka extended the red blades of the lightning claw gauntlet affixed to his right hand. They were identical in every way to those Thalak wielded with his left, for the gauntlets were a matched pair, intended for a single warrior. Kurz misinterpreted the gesture.
You have more spine than the rest of my captains combined.
A fell light kindled in the mad Primarch's eyes. To Thalak's horror, he dropped into a feral crouch, bringing his throat level with the champion's claws. Smiling, he spread his arms wide and tilted back his head invitingly.
Save your captain, then. Do what the Emperor should have done the night he first embraced me. Do what Sanguinius and the Lion would not. Change my fate. Prove the vision false. Kill me yourself.
Svaka trembled, overcome by dread and uncertainty. The red blades reached forwards, their tips pricked the Primarch's alabaster skin. Kurz closed his eyes. Thalak bit back a scream. The whole universe seemed to hold its breath. No. No. Svaka stepped back, his limbs visibly shaking. The lightning claws retracted back into their housings. The thunderhammer crashed to the floor. Svaka sank to his knees beside Thalak. "I cannot. You are still our father, even if that no longer means anything to you. I have killed many things. I would not number my gene-sire among them." The Night Haunter rose once more to his full height, drawing his feathered cloak about him like a pair of ragged wings, and a measure of his former majesty returned.
My father, my brothers, and now my sons, all have failed me. Now you see my fate is fixed. Vindication is mine.
The Primarch glared down at the stricken legionaries kneeling at his feet and pointed towards the door with the bloodied combat knife.
Depart from me, Captain Thalak. Take what remains of the 47th and depart. Do not return. The darkness waits for you. Darkness and an eternity of slaughter and death. Consider this my last command. No. Consider it my last wish. Father!
Thalak cried out in abject despair, unable to resist as Svaka gripped his power back and began dragging him from the chamber.
Father!
Right.
Do not leave us! Do not forsake your sons! Go. You will not give me your oath.
We'll do the gun hand.
You are no longer my son.
Thalak's mind fell into a bottomless abyss. Incomprehensible words
Damn.
of denial spilled from his blood-flecked lips. His vision dimmed, and he thrashed and clawed at Svaka's armor like a witless beast as the champion hauled him out into the corridor. The door was shut. An anguished scream tore free of his throat.
Still undecided. I want to glue it all together so I don't have to deal with
consciousness a second time.
primering them and painting them
He found
separately.
himself being carried across his
Sub-assembly.
brother's shoulders back through the fortress. Svaka had reattached his helm.
I'm just thinking
and
about getting
screens
those
of
tight
injury and
spaces.
trauma data were scrolling across the visor display.
Yeah, we're just gonna glue it. We're gonna glue
Wounds
it.
Kurz had inflicted upon him were severe.
We're gonna glue them,
Thalak
bro.
was beyond caring.
Goodness. I think I need a little hobby enhancer over here.
Who am I, if I am not his son?
You are Azal Thalak of the Red Knives, commander of the 47th, Svaka said, his warplate servos squealing in protest beneath Thalak's additional weight. You stand in midnight clad, and you are my friend. These truths have not changed, brother.
Curse cannot do this.
Thalak gasped.
The power vacuum alone, it will tear our brotherhood apart.
Grab your drinks, your snacks, your...
Sure, Sahar does not have the strength of will to keep the Night Lords united.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you guys' time. It means a lot.
We will avenge him together.
We're slowly getting bigger. We're getting there.
His name.
At 500 subscribers, we'll
brother.
We'll be
when we get back to the Abyssal Dirge,
we'll be showing we'll be taking off the beanie. 500 subscribers.
Will you join me?
Where's Ubi at?
The last time I drank Miot with you, I woke up with a headache so debilitating I nearly threw myself out
taking
of
the
an
beanie
airlock.
off.
I was also wearing Vath's armor for some reason.
My head already hurts.
Yeah, buddy,
No
you know.
shit. You should have left your helmet on.
My hearts feel like they are dying.
So do mine. Our pain shall fuel our vengeance. We will cut and kill everything that stands in our path until there is nothing left for us to cut or to kill. Are you with me, brother captain?
I'll be back
Like
in a
when we were
quick
boys.
second. We're just
Thalak murmured, clotting blood dribbling from his lips.
handling business real quick.
Yes, I am with you. Thank you, Telid.
For what?
For defending me.
I am your champion, Azal. I will always defend you. The blackness claimed Thalak again, and he knew no more as Svaka bore him away into a shared exile and the eternal
Cheers, you
darkness
guys.
of a grim and fatherless future.
Hell yeah, dude. There's our guy. There's our homie in the chat. What's up, dude? What you doing, bro?
More can't. What a fucking pun.
This is the might of the Dark One.
Yeah.
I don't see that one. I'm making light of the situation. I'm sorry.
Yeah, dude. Streamception over here, bro. See, now it's me playing Dragon Quest. Yeah, smoke that.
Oh, shit.
Of all the low
Streamception. I love it.
Betrayed by the very man he trusted most.
Yeah, it's our guy. Oh, Ubi came out with a new video. I'll have to check that out later. Now, what I was looking for. You were going back and forth. Damn. All right, then we'll do that then. We'll do that for a minute. I'm sure Area 51 won't mind, right?
They say reach out to the tree. I'm fucking punching that shit.
But you guys, anybody watching that's not on his channel, check him out. He does pretty well. Go drop a subscribe, a like, maybe a comment. Yo, Francis! There he is. What's up, my dude? Here we are, we're doing it. We're getting our stream enhancers on real quick, and
oh shit.
we're almost done gluing. here in a quick minute, we'll finish gluing, and if you're down to still jump on that Darktide, I'm down. There's also we're gonna show a couple trailers too. We'll fix that here in a minute.
This is where the whole fucking thing goes down. This is the echoes of the elusive age.
Lend me thy powers, that I might bind him and...
It looks like a fucking Christmas ornament falling off a tree.
What now, Serenica? What doth the future hold for thee?
The sword of light belongeth with the world tree. I mean to bear it thence. Thereafter, I shall venture forth upon a quest. I shall seek
No
him
pun
out.
intended. She's holding the
Find
sword.
him. Erdwin, my love, I will be reunited with thee. I swear it.
Oh shit! Yeah, there's just a bunch of still frames. You know, Dragon Quest still likes to evoke the imagination.
Oh, my bad. I
As
forgot
much
to
as
unmute
there's
myself.
Cutscenes and all that other fancy shit.
Phil,
these days.
you got an extra tab where you can put him up on the second tab? Cause yeah, bro, if you're watching me, I'm taking the viewer away from him, and I'm not down for that. So I'm gonna be switching off of his stream right now. But if you got your ability to open up a second tab, yeah, try that out. And I'm sorry, the switching back and forth will have to do. I don't feel right. Yeah. You know what I mean?
More before I passed.
What was that trailer you wanted to watch, though? Yo, those guys look like the forest spirits from Princess Mononoke, kind of. Telling you, I want a little bobblehead of those guys.
No fucking way.
What? Tell me, what happened? Tell me, Area 51.
Get the fucking sword.
Oh?
To smash the fucking orb to go back in time to fix things.
Uh-oh.
That's so sad.
So Erdwin's lantern was no star, nor was it the luminary's final
You've done as you
Oh, destination Bloodlines. All right.
given the luminary the guide.
We need a confession. This is not over till we get a
We
confession.
saw what happened to Serenica, what she became.
She's still there, you know, up in that tower. And she still holds...
Oh, shit.
How come you know about all this stuff, anyhow? Didn't it all happen
I'll never get over it.
centuries ago?
Didn't this all happen centuries ago? Indeed.
My inquisitive young friend. Perhaps I had better show
All right. We're going to switch it over to that Bloodlines trailer. Area 51, my guy, I appreciate you, my dude. Keep doing good on that Dragon Quest. Anybody watching, feel free, be kind, throw them a subscribe. He's doing well. We're going places.
What the?
Oh, what happened? I missed it. We'll come back. We'll come back to him.
Mordecant?
We'll come back to him. All right, here we go. Final Destination Bloodlines.
My old man just died. I come in as a favor, and now they want me to lock up.
Hey, 5-star review, yeah? Like and subscribe and all the things.
Yup. Oh shit. Oh no. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, get up there. Oh yeah.
Oh, you got me. Come on.
Bro. Yo, roast that piggy over an open flame. Woo! Slow burn. There's no way his nose would have ripped right. Oh shit. Damn. Hey. Such calming music. That's how they get you. They reel you in with the music. One last battle. Only one. Now we're in Area 51. We actually got him on the other TV. Ranton, my guy, I hear ya. Let's see. Can you see him with my... No. We'll do this. Yeah, I'm checking him out over there. One TV1. Oh wait, TV1. Where's the other camera at? There it is. TV2 over there. TV 5, 6, and 7. I got so many screens everywhere, dude. Too many. Still can't connect to the Steam. Damn. But it's no worries, Francis. We'll hold off on that for now. I mean, I'll just continue gluing. Maybe you want to. I mean, if you haven't been able to get on the last couple of days and it's not connecting now, you probably won't be able to get on tonight at all. But that's all right. No worries. Maybe sometime before next week. Yeah, I'll get the bug, and I wanna play some Darktide. Oh, let's watch that trailer for the new Darktide. Whatever. Hold on, we're gonna actually have to, because I got Area 51 up here, but since it's a laptop we're using, I'm just gonna, because I already got it on another tab over here. I do have to mute them. I'll switch over to the other screen. How do I got so many things going on right here, you guys. It's like, wait, no. What am I doing here? What buttons am I looking for? All right, button there, my face. That's Area 51 playing. Yes, perfect. But we want this one. big screen that. Pause it. Turn it up. And put it all the way. All right, I think we're good. I think we're all right. Yeah. Damn, Francis. Yeah, no worries, bro. It's all good, my guy. I appreciate you being here, though, dude. Like, thanks for hanging out. So this is I saw this just today. Nightmare and Visions trailer. Did you see it already? Have you heard about this? Warhammer 40k Darktide update. I don't know what it's about. I today, bro. Dropped today. Let's see. 10 hours ago. Yeah, let's see. See if it's any good. You'll know if it's any good or not. I won't, but you will.
Let me unveil your true potential.
Soundtracks always kick ass in this game.
Bear witness to the nightmares and visions. Conquer Sephine's trials in the theaters of mortification. The enemies aren't real, but your pain is. Use Sephine's indulgences to triumph against the hordes. Havoc duty has expanded with new nightmares. Face them.
Any new maps are good. Hell yeah, dude. Whoa. Let's read those real quick. What do we got here? Elite enemies fall into range under 50% HP left, increasing their attack. Oh, here, let me turn off my face so you can actually see all that. Increasing their attack speed, damage caused, and rendering them immune to crowd control. Reset. Ooh. Are you can you talent tree reset on your own, like by doing a certain something? Do you have to pay money to do it, or once it's set, you're set in your ways and you have to start a new character if you wanted to do that? Let's see what's next. Marked enemies blessed by the Lord of Pestilence will heal affected allies in proximity. If these enemies are not dealt with quickly, they will rapidly regenerate the enemy forces. All right. Enemies in this sector are rampaging. They gain increased defense against attack upon witnessing the death of an ally. Huh. Damn. That actually sounds hard as fuck, dude. Reports indicate that the admonition has begun creating more demon hosts in this area. Stop these rituals before it's too late. Damn, dude. My 40k enhancers are giving me mush mouth over here.
Nightmares and visions. Only in death does duty end.
Right. What's this? Free update, new content, Mortis Trials, new Havoc campaign, Ogren Talent Tree overhaul. Oh, bro. That's you, G. Well, you probably got care of every character, but you were this guy the other day. Live event, a day at the theater. Huh. Wonder what that is. Australian Firstborn Premium Cosmetics. Alright, cool. Is that it? Yeah, that's it, dude. Let's watch that one more time. Just to get another feel for it. But this time we'll put my face here.
Bear witness to the nightmares and visions. Conquer Sephine's trials in the theaters of mortification. The enemies aren't real, but your pain is.
But your pain is.
Use Sephine's indulgences to triumph against the hordes.
Charge.
Havoc duty has expanded with new nightmares. Face them and prove your worth to the Commissar.
Damn, dude, so sick.
Nightmares and visions.
Available
Only
now.
in death does duty end.
Shit, son. Cool, dude. That's pretty badass. Nice. Oh, goodness. All right, let's see. Watch the Final Destination trailer. Spinal Tap 2 trailer. Is that the only things that we were going to watch? And then this one that we're watching now? I'm just making sure I didn't skip over anything, lose my place. All right. Cool. Hell yeah, dude. Good shit. I like it when they give free updates. Okay, go back to watching Homie.
This scent. Old scent. Familiar. Elder?
Why is my cut a wipe? It shouldn't be a wipe. Huh. I'm gonna have to fix that. Actually, I got it. It's right here. Yeah, perfect. All right. We're fixing stuff. We're doing it, you guys. All right. Back to life. Back to reality.
From Angron bench pressing a
This
Titan
one's from
to
2 days
Mephiston
ago. I haven't
obliterating a
seen this
horde
one yet. Let's check this out.
Medela, the mark of a fighter.
From Angron bench pressing a Titan
Watch
to
Spinal Tap
Mephiston
clip or
obliterating
two
a horde of
after
Tyranids with a single
Caesar
blood lance,
justified
40k is no stranger to ridiculously
Alright, I'm
powerful
down.
characters. However, one
Yeah,
of its
we'll do that
most
right now.
powerful is one you've probably never heard of before.
We'll do it the easier way. Final Tap 2. Alright. Let's check out the Spinal Tap trailer. Teaser trailer. Oh, wait, what? There it is.
banshees live and they do live well. Stonehenge.
Hell yeah, dude. Damn, nice. That was it, huh? I feel, I'm felt wanting more. One more time. Yo. Woo! Infinitely loud. Hell yeah, dude. Badass. It's gonna be dope. It's gonna be dope, you guys.
With Got to Be Metallic's new...
No commercials. F commercials. Fail all the commercials.
A character who lay dormant in the series for over 2 decades and has only recently been brought back. A woman who started off her life as a simple battle sister within the Adeptus Sororitas, but has been slowly evolving into humanity's ultimate weapon against chaos, her power seemingly exponentially increasing with each subsequent appearance. Her name is Ephriel Stern, though she's gone by many titles in the past, including the Thriceborn, the Scourge of Chaos, and the Demonifuge. But who is she, and why has she remained a relatively unknown character in the 40k community if she's so powerful? Truth be told, I didn't even know who this character was until I recently stumbled upon a book titled The Heretic Saint. Now, right off the bat, I was intrigued based on that metal-ass title alone. But even more perplexing was the fact that although the Sisters of Battle do not allow psychers within their ranks, right here on the cover of this book was one of them powering up like a dang old Dragon Ball Z character. Well, as it turns out, she's a character from a comic book series from the late 90s known as Demonifuge, and was recently reintroduced to the series after the conclusion of the 13th Black Crusade during the Pariah Nexus arc of the ongoing story. For the last century in-universe, she's been acting as a one-woman army within Imperium Nihilus, facing off against greater demons and defending isolated worlds from demonic incursions, aided only by her best friend and closest confidant, the Harlequin pariah Kaganel of the Bloody Tears. Despite her single ally and seemingly noble ambitions, Stern has no one else to turn to. She's been on the run for over 100 years, hunted by friend and foe alike across the cosmos. She was exiled from her sisterhood, condemned as an abomination by the Inquisition, and feared as an existential threat by the forces of chaos. But why is seemingly everyone out to get her? How did she get so powerful, and what is her ultimate objective? Is she a hero, a villain, or something in between? Is she actually just a psyker, or is she something far crazier that's harder to define? Well, after having read everything this character has ever appeared in, I gotta say her story is pretty buck wild, and it manages to capture that quintessential grimdark charm that many within the 40k community believe has been less prevalent in the modern stories. Well, in this video, we're gonna dive into Stern's origins and piece together the truth behind this so-called heretic saint. But before we get into it, a quick shout out to this video's sponsor. If we're being honest with ourselves, a lot of us have a tendency to let ourselves go over the winter. It's cold and we don't feel like exercising, which can lead us to start slacking on our diet. But springtime is finally here, my friends. It's starting to get warm out, and there's no better way to start taking your nutrition seriously again than with the help of today's sponsor, Factor. Factor makes meeting your nutritional goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. I don't know if you've noticed, but fast food has been ballooning in price over the last couple of years. And
commercials in the show. Hate those.
Thanks to Factor for sponsoring this video. In order to understand who Ephriel Stern is as a character, we need to know her origins, and there's no better place to start with that than with the Demonifuge comics themselves. Although originally printed in black and white, I'm going to be using colored artwork from the 20th Anniversary Special Edition version. Additionally, I'm going to be presenting the information in the order in which it occurs in the story to better capture the author's original vision and not lessen the impact of any of the many reveals found throughout. The story opens up with Stern imprisoned in the dungeons beneath the convent sanctorum on Ophelia 7. Once a proud Seraphim and later a Sister Superior, she is now suspected of Chaos corruption. You see, 4 years ago, she was the lone survivor of a mission to Parnas, returning with no memory of what happened or how she managed to escape. Worse, she appears lost in madness, scribbling profane diagrams on her cell walls and muttering blasphemies under her breath. The Sisterhood is divided on what to do. Some demand she be tried and burned as a witch, while others, led by the Prioress, refuse to condemn a Sister Superior without proof. To settle the matter, the Inquisition has been contacted and Inquisitor Silas Hand is en route to make an assessment of her. Impatient for judgment, one of the sisters takes the matter into her own hands, and during a routine meal delivery, she levels a bolter at Stern. But before she can pull the trigger, Stern strikes with supernatural speed and strength, punching clean through the woman's power armor and ripping something from her chest. A shrieking demon of Slaanesh. As the horrified onlookers stare, Stern turns to them and utters a single command: burn everything. Her ability to unmask a hidden chaos agent does end up earning her some trust, but her inhuman strength and supernatural awareness only fuel suspicions of witchcraft. The Prioress, still unwilling to condemn her without proof, orders that Stern undergo a series of trials. Some of them test her faith, others her loyalty, but the most important trials will assess her combat prowess, whether she is still fit to slay the enemies of the Emperor. Now, during one of these combat trials against some servitors, Inquisitor Silas Hand arrives and is convinced that she is a heretic. He leaps into the arena to test her for himself. A brutal fight between the two ensues, Stern focused primarily on dodging and parrying, while Silas's relentless onslaught grows more ferocious, his condemnations echoing with every strike. The duel only ends when the Prioress steps in and calls it to a halt, declaring that Stern has proven herself enough. Stern stands before the Inquisitor and states firmly that she is no heretic, and together they will move forward as allies. 2 days later, Stern undergoes the rites of reaffirmation, officially renewing her vows and restoring her purity. Though stripped of her rank of Sister Superior, she is reinstated as a Seraphim, a Sister of Battle once more. But not everyone is pleased. From the crowd, Inquisitor Silas watches on, fuming. In his eyes, this is a grave mistake. The signs of warp corruption are all too clear, and a demon of all things had been uncovered within one of the holiest sites in the entire Imperium. As the ceremony ends, he swears to watch her closely, and when the time comes, to be the one who delivers judgment. After this, the story jumps forward a bit. Stern, Silas, and a force of battle sisters board the Ecclesiarchy battleship Hammer of Thor, heading back to Parnas to uncover the truth and search for survivors. What should have been a straightforward mission, however, it quickly spirals into chaos. Unbeknownst to the crew, the ship's navigator has been corrupted. Before they can act, he summons a Slaaneshi demon assassin sent to eliminate Stern. Fortunately, Silas discovers the treachery just in time, and a strike team is deployed to purge the creature before it can complete its mission. With the demon destroyed, Silas insists they immediately deploy to the planet's surface, convinced that Parnas is the true source of corruption. Shortly after the drop pod launches, however, disaster unfolds.
Mold lines are annoying.
The Hammer of Thor is ripped apart in a massive explosion. You see, Silas had underestimated the navigator's treachery. The corruption ran far deeper. With ample time to act, the traitor had sabotaged the ship's warp drive, dooming it. As they descend, the Inquisitor, who happens to be a psyker, is overwhelmed by a wave of psychic agony, experiencing the pain, fear, and confusion of all those who perished in the explosion. This drives him briefly insane, and he perceives the sisters around him as demons, and then subsequently attacks them. Stern manages to subdue him by knocking him unconscious, and after they land, she orders her sisters to move ahead, unwilling to leave the Inquisitor behind despite his arrogance. Time was in short supply. Flaming debris from the wrecked ship would soon rain down on them. Her sisters managed to escape, but as they turn back, to their horror, a massive piece of the ship crashes down on top of Stern and the Inquisitor. The story then shifts back a little bit to a vision that Silas is having while he's unconscious. He's ensnared by a Khornate demon named Grimspire, who we learn is a manifestation of his guilt and has haunted him for years. But this time, Stern appears as well, declaring the vision to be a false one. Before battling the demon, Silas breaks free, and together they manage to destroy it. The story's perspective then shifts back to the sisters, who are frantically trying to dig them out of the wreckage and fearing the worst, only to find Stern and the Inquisitor miraculously alive. Something strange seems to have occurred here. At the very last moment, a massive burst of energy was released that carved a tunnel straight upwards through the debris, creating a cavity that protected them. Now, it's around this time that we're given a little bit more insight into what the exact purpose of this mission actually is. Apparently, there are rumors of a lost convent of the Sisterhood that has been missing for centuries, and intel suggests that this planet may be where they have disappeared to. Stern wakes up strapped inside of a rhino en route to a location that they believe is serving as the convent's base of operations. Silas, seated nearby, acknowledges the impossible from before. By all logic, they should be dead. Some external force clearly intervened to keep them alive. Arriving at a fortress perched on a cliff, he tells her that in their short time together, she has acted with honor, even at great cost. He doesn't understand what she is, but apparently neither does she, nor do the forces of chaos. That alone lends some credence to her innocence. But as the saying goes, in the grimdark future, innocence proves nothing. He warns her if he detects even a hint of corruption, he will cut her down without mercy. Though her faith is unwavering, a part of Stern fears the truth buried within her. Something happened here 4 years ago, and it was time for answers. Inside the convent, they find a blasphemy beyond comprehension, a writhing mass of fused bodies and stretched human skin, still alive and screaming in unison. The sheer psychic agony of this thing paralyzes Silas, but Stern remains unaffected, drawn into the entity. Ignoring her sister's protests, she reaches out and touches a protruding bone. At once, 700 voices speak as one, saying simply, "Welcome home." She loses control, levitating before the screaming cage as visions of the past flood her mind. The souls within the cage were once sisters of battle, but theirs was no ordinary convent. Unlike others, they were not warriors. They were scholars of chaos, devoted to understanding the enemy in order to destroy it. Centuries ago, they discovered a bound greater demon of Slaanesh encased in ice. Rather than destroy it, they saw an opportunity. By studying it, they could expose Slaanesh's weaknesses. For 300 years, they toiled in secret, severing all ties to the Imperium to prevent discovery. Many fell to the demon's whispers and had to be purged, but the research was too important. It continued until disaster struck. The demon managed to escape. In vengeance, it flayed the sisters alive, fusing their bodies and minds into a singular eternal torment, the Screaming Cage. It was the demon's masterpiece, but it underestimated them. By linking their minds in order for them to each share in each other's suffering, it accidentally created a Gestalt consciousness, one with unshakable faith in the Emperor and an encyclopedic knowledge of Slaanesh. Through their shared will, they became something new, something powerful. 4 years ago, Stern had come here with her sisters, following a lead to the lost convent, where they encountered the cage and its demonic master. They were slaughtered to the last, but Stern refused to fall. Even as the demon inflicted horrific wounds, she defied it. In her final act of resistance, she leapt from the cliffs, choosing death over corruption. Her body was destroyed, but her soul remained untouched. Seeing her purity, the Cage sisters acted, resurrecting her through their faith. To protect her, they made her stronger, faster, immune to Chaos's touch, but at a cost. Her memory was shattered, leaving her with only a single thought echoing through her mind: run. And so she did, fleeing in madness into the wastes, surviving alone until she was eventually rescued and returned to Ophelia 7. Now reunited with her lost sisters, the Cage has one final gift, or curse, depending upon how you look at it. The Screaming Cage then floods Stern's mind with centuries of research, a complete understanding of Slaanesh. As she absorbs it, Slaaneshi demons begin to attack, swarming in desperation to stop the transfer. The other sisters manage to hold them back, but just as the transfer completes, the greater demon itself emerges. Stern turns to Silas, placing a hand on him. With a single touch, she transfers everything. The influx of knowledge surges through him, pushing his psychic abilities to unimaginable levels. Together, they all battle the greater demon, and for a moment, victory seems certain. But sensing its defeat, the demon opens a warp rift and tries to escape. Stern moves to pursue, but Silas stops her. Understanding the importance of the information bestowed upon them by the Screaming Cage, he declares that she has a greater role to play. He and the remaining battle sisters would finish the demon off, but she had to escape. The knowledge within her must reach the Ecclesiarchy. They need to know everything, he says. Once again, Stern runs, fleeing as Silas unleashes his newfound power in a cataclysmic explosion, leveling the fortress, the mountain, and everything within it. Out in the waste, she swears to honor their sacrifice, the Cage Sisters, the Battle Sisters, and even the Inquisitor himself. She is a weapon of light, forged to destroy chaos, and she will not stop until every last one of them is avenged.
Nature-Made Magnesium is made to care for your whole body, every day.
Good old commercials.
For 8 months, Stern survives alone in the wastes, until one night she receives a vision from Silas bearing bad news. The demon had managed to escape, and now Chaos knew she was alive. Worse, it knew what knowledge she carried, and it would stop at nothing to silence her. Determined to preserve what she had learned, Stern begins transcribing her inherited knowledge from the Screaming Cage into what becomes known as the Stern Codex, an encrypted thesis on the nature of Slaanesh, bound in steel and baptized in her own blood to counteract its inherent heresy. Although the knowledge is still in her head, this book will serve as a backup if she is slain. Help finally does arrive in the form of the Black Templars, who have been sent to investigate the fate of the Hammer of Thor and locate both her and Inquisitor Silas. Among them is Septimus Grin, another Inquisitor disguised as Brother Gideon, embedded within the Templars to root out corruption. When they find Stern, she initially believes she is safe, back among allies, but that illusion shatters quickly. A thrall aboard the ship identifies her as the alien infidel, the Thriceborn, the heretic prophesies to corrupt the Golden Throne and bring ruin to countless worlds. Confused, she tries to protest, only for Captain Malachi to strike her down and beat her nearly unconscious. Grin objects, but the captain reminds him to know his place. The brutality only comes to an end when a high-ranking cardinal of the ecclesiarchy steps in. Stern, shaken but pragmatic, places her trust in him and recounts everything that has happened. But what follows is a rapid series of revelations that leave both Stern and the reader reeling. You see, the Cardinal is corrupted. When he tries to grab the Stern Codex from her, it burns him, not because it is heretical, but because it is holy, repelling chaos. Now, the Inquisition and Inquisitor Grin had no idea who Stern was. She wasn't really important in this, but they had suspected the Cardinal of heresy, hence why he has disguised himself as a member of the Black Templars. Worse, not only is the Cardinal compromised, but so is Captain Malachi and most of the Templars aboard. Now surrounded by enemies, Grin reveals his true identity to her, saying that he is her ally, and together they fight back. The Inquisitor battles against the Captain while Stern faces off against the Cardinal, discovering that she can now unleash blasts of energy, something she had never been able to do before. Despite the accusations of witchcraft, she is no psyker. The Cardinal, now fully unmasked, transforms into a massive, ever-growing demon. With no other option, Stern and Grin escape using a teleporter, jumping to the Inquisitor's ship that isn't that far away, after which his ship turns its guns on the corrupted one and detonates it. With the mission a success, the Inquisitorial team must now decide what to do with Stern. She has proven her loyalty, but her psychic powers mark her as a witch. They arrange a rendezvous in the shrine world of Gathalamor, summoning both Stern's sisters from Ophelia 7 and the demon hunters of Ordo Malleus. For the first time, things seem like they're going Stern's way, until later on, she has another vision from Silas that shatters that hope. The Ordo Malleus was laying a trap. It didn't matter who vouched for her, whether her sisters or the crew aboard this particular vessel believed she was innocent. The Ordo Malleus didn't understand her. They didn't know what she was, and they feared that which they did not understand. They weren't sure if they would be able to control her, and that uncertainty made her dangerous. They would capture her, they would torture her, and ultimately, they would kill her. Her fate had already been decided.
Glue some of
The
this
story
gun
jumps
together.
forward a little bit and over to Gathalamor, where representatives from Ophelia 7 and Ordo Malleus are clashing over Stern's fate. Malleus refuses to give her a trial. She is a heretic, and the Inquisition would be taking her into custody. The sisters protest, but the Inquisitors remind them that they were harboring a witch. If they push further, the Ordo Malleus may respond with a full-scale witch hunt against the Adepta Sororitas. Unwilling to risk thousands of lives, the sisters make a painful decision. Ephriel Stern is dead to them. Now, back aboard the ship, Gideon and Stern prepare to teleport to Gathalamor's surface. Stern hesitates, knowing what awaits her, but she steels herself. The moment after they depart, the teleportarium flares back to life, and Ordo Malleus springs their trap. While she is teleporting, a squad of Grey Knights arrives in her place to purge everyone aboard this vessel who aided her so far. Instead of arriving instantly, another strange event occurs, where Stern finds herself trapped in a void with Silas. He reveals that this is a pivotal moment in her life, and she has multiple paths in front of her. One of those paths leads to her immediate execution, another to endless torture, but the third, the path of the Demonifuge, is uncertain, full of sacrifice and unimaginable horror. To survive, she would have to find someone known as the Pariah and deliver her codex to the Guardians of the Black Library. Then, the vision fades. She materializes, surrounded by Grey Knights and members of Ordo Malleus with weapons trained on her. Grin is gunned down, but Stern unleashes her abilities and barely manages to escape. One of the Inquisitors, who is now mortally wounded, condemns her with his final breath, labeling her an abomination, heresy made flesh. There would be no more attempts to capture or study her. From now on, she was to be killed on sight. Stern, now a fugitive, moves through the crowds, keeping her face hidden. The words renegade, heretic, outcast echoing in her mind. At one point, she's attacked by a group of gangers, but dispatches them with ease. After this, she's taken in by a group of outcasts, their leader telling her that he has seen her in visions. The Emperor had guided her here, but her fate lied elsewhere. He tells her that she has to find the Weeping One, the Pariah, but before he can say any more, their hideout is raided. Once again, she is forced to fight for her life. Once again, she manages to slip away, and then disguises herself as a pilgrim to board a shuttle to a distant shrine world. But before she reaches safety, the ship ends up getting attacked by the Dark Eldar. Captured and enslaved, she is taken to Camorra, where she will be forced to fight within the witch cult arenas under Lord Anhor. There's a time jump here, and we're told that Stern has spent years fighting as a gladiator, keeping her abilities hidden, knowing that the Drukhari's hatred of Psykers would mean instant death for her. Despite her suffering, she survives, guided by visions that insist this is where she is meant to be. One day, she ends up getting ambushed by a group of mandrakes, seeking vengeance for a perceived slight against their employer during one of her recent victories. However, she ends up getting saved by a Harlequin warrior named Mensha Luet Kaganel, the Knight of Shadows, the pariah she has been seeking. He already knows her story. This meeting was destined. He tells her the road ahead is full of horrors, but she's no longer alone. It is his destiny to be her guardian, to lead her through the webway to Sanctuary in the Black Library. An extended chase scene through Camorra follows, as Stern and Kaganel fight off pursuing Dark Eldar. They finally manage to escape when Kaganel opens
Tell that Dragon Area 51.
Someone else is watching them, Azik Araman, the
Ice
sorcerer
Dragon
of the
looking you
Thousand
all
Suns, who seeks
sideways,
the location of the
like you
library
bothered
for
him or
himself.
something.
In the webway, Kaganel reveals his past to her, saying that he was once a Harlequin, but he has since become an exile, a pariah. Perhaps by aiding Stern, he will be able to find some form of redemption with them. They are alike, both betrayed by those they trusted. He warns her that the Thriceborn, her final resurrection, is coming, though he cannot say what form it will take. Their goal is clear, the Black Library, the Eldari's sacred repository of chaos knowledge, gathered over millions of years. Everything Stern knows must be preserved there. But getting there would not be easy. They must first stop at several different craft worlds. As Kaganel opens a portal to their first destination, Stern senses that something is wrong. They arrive not on a craft world at all, but aboard a Chaos Space Marine battle barge. Subdued by Rubric Marines, they come face to face with Araman. The Harlequin, he declares, will be tortured until he reveals the Black Library's location. And as for Stern, though less important, she remained an intriguing curiosity to him. After he managed to find the library, his enemies within Chaos itself would surely move against him. She was a weapon against Chaos, and he intended to use her.
I love my natural hair, but not what hoodies were doing to it, so I made my own. Chase and Philly helps my business grow one hoodie at a time.
Get financial guidance from bankers in your community and convenient digital tools all in one place. Chase for Business.
Mm-mm. Phil, no worries, bro. Thank you, my dude. We're almost pretty much done here anyways. We're just going to glue on the last arm. But we're going to be back tomorrow with the Stargate stream. If you ever seen Stargate, it's pretty good, dude. Sci-fi. Check it out. I recommend it. If not, stop by tomorrow. See what you think. It's on Amazon. If you got Amazon Prime, it's on there. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate your time, my dude. And we'll see you again soon. Thursday, we got a last episode of Reacher. Friday, some Star Wars. Probably nothing on the weekend. And then Monday, back to the anime. Haven't seen it. Oh, it's pretty good. I did the watch party with the movie, and starting with season 1 all the way to where we're at right now, there's a playlist on my thing. When you get a chance, check out the movie or on your own. You don't have to watch the watch party or anything, but check out the movie, Stargate movie. It's good, man. If you like sci-fi, I think you might like it. All right, dude. Have a good one, man. Thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you later. Oh, look, there you are. You're in my history, Phil. Give you a couple thumbs ups. I subscribed. I haven't seen Spirited Away, so I don't want to watch that yet. Actually, there it is. Here we are.
Something that took place in 2005, when a documentary crew was filming Dark Clouds over Elberton. Wyatt Martin had recently suffered a stroke and was in pretty bad health. The film crew pressured him to show them the letters that he received from R.C. Christian over the years. Martin was reluctant, but eventually agreed, though he was careful to hide his postmarks on the envelopes when he was showing them to the camera. But the cameraman was able to grab a close-up shot of an envelope in the box, which had a return address.
Kind of a dick move to take advantage of the old timer, huh?
I agree, but even though we may not like the way we came about this information, it doesn't change the fact that we have it. So using this information, people on the internet did what they do best.
Ooh, leave nasty comments on videos about how your content sucks?
No, they tracked down the address.
Oh.
The letters came from Dr. Herbert Hinsey Kirsten, a surgeon from Fort Dodge, Iowa. Kirsten is an old German form of the name Christian.
He died after 2000, like the old timer said?
Kirsten died in 2005.
Yahtzee!
Now, according to Kirsten's obituary, he served in World War II. He was a conservationist who loved nature and trees. He was a naturalist who was very involved in environmental and world population issues.
Bingo, this is the guy!
Kirsten also worked in construction when he was younger, and he had 2 sons and 2 daughters.
Wait. The guy who wants to limit people to one rugrat had 4 of them?
Yep.
Rules for thee, but not for me, huh? You sure this guy wasn't in Congress?
Well, I'm sure, but he did have a couple of famous friends. One of them was William Shockley. Shockley was a physicist and inventor. He actually won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1956.
Sounds like a good guy.
Well, he was also known for being a racist who supported eugenics.
Oh, I take back what I said.
Now, Shockley argued that less intelligent people were having too many children and reducing the average intelligence of the population. He also believed some races were more intelligent than others. Clearly, Dr. Kirsten, aka R.C. Christian, shared similar views. Though the Georgia Guidestones aren't specifically racist, we know that Dr. Kirsten was a supporter of David Duke, former Grand Wizard of the KKK.
Ugh, maybe it's not so bad that somebody blew these things up, huh?
Well, destruction of the Guidestones is the final piece of the story. Or is it? On July 6, 2022, just after 4 a.m., CCTV picked up an individual running to the stones carrying something. Seconds later, there's an explosion, and one of the 4 monoliths is destroyed. Less than a minute later, a car is captured on camera leaving the scene. What's strange is, within hours, heavy equipment was brought in to clean up the site. Shouldn't this have been a crime scene for longer than a few hours? ATF was on the scene almost immediately. Weren't they curious about what kind of explosive was used? What components it was made of? What kind of trigger device was employed? Modern forensics can give us all kinds of information, but all the evidence was quickly removed. The Guidestones were in a remote location. There's only one road in or out. There's no footage of this vehicle once it leaves the area. It's the middle of the night in northern Georgia. It would be one of the only cars on the road, but we don't have any new information.
Government was in on it?
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there are questions that can now never be answered because the site, along with any evidence, was cleaned up almost immediately. It's very possible this was carried out by someone who is very anti-government, or maybe someone who is just anti-hypocrisy. All these people that want us to live by the one-child policy seem to have plenty of children. Rockefeller had 6 kids. William Shockley had 3. R.C. Christian, aka Dr. Kirsten, had 4. But the rest of us are only allowed to have 1 child, and only if we're genetically fit. Who decides who's genetically fit? Well, they do. They want to limit the population of the Earth without acknowledging that it was the rapid growth and advancement of the human race that allowed them to amass ridiculous wealth. Now that they have theirs, they want to limit what we can have. These same people are the ones who scream about climate change, fossil fuels, pollution. They want to decide who can own what kinds of vehicles and how much energy you can use to warm your house in the winter. But how did J.D. Rockefeller make his money? Oil. Aurelio Pache, who founded the Club of Rome, he made his fortune working for Fiat, a huge company that makes cars, trains, planes, tractors, and military equipment. When they were making their families rich and powerful, the climate wasn't as big a concern, but
Coors Banquet, the same brewing tradition since 1873. When you're the favorite beer of rock stars and cowboys, you don't compromise. That's our legacy.
Control. They don't see any problem with this. They have superior genetics. They don't believe we're intelligent enough to make these decisions for ourselves, so they'll make those decisions for us. It's very possible, and maybe even likely, that whoever destroyed the Georgia Guidestones was aware of this hypocrisy. Now look, I don't condone the destruction of property. I know why some monuments and statues are offensive to some people, but those people don't have the right to just decide on their own to tear them down. People should vote on what statues go up and what monuments come down. Anything else is vandalism and vigilantism. I don't like the fact that someone took the law into their own hands and destroyed the Georgia Guidestones. Now I hope he's found and sent to prison for what he's done. But now that they're gone, I say good riddance.
Hey, it's me! Oh, a lot of self-tanner on today. Sorry about that. I'll fix it. Looking kind of orange. Okay, I have to shoot today a couple of podcasts, which we do on video. So I can't look so pallid, so pasty, because I very rarely see the sun. Anyway, I'm just popping in to say thanks for checking out the 24-hour stream. I'm glad you like it. I wasn't sure if people were going to even stop by, but it seems to be a great place for fans to come and watch their favorite episodes, chat about them, or whatever you're doing there. Anyway, just want to say thanks. I appreciate it.
Even though UFOs are seen everywhere, over the desert, over the ocean, over cities, there's no way to predict when and where they'll show up. Well, no way except one: build or detonate a nuclear weapon. Since the dawn of the atomic age, UFOs have been seen and photographed during nuclear weapons tests and near nuclear weapons facilities. The Ark of the Covenant is one of the most mysterious artifacts in human history. The Ark, a sacred chest made of wood and covered in gold, has been missing since 587 BC. Its last known location was Jerusalem, somewhere under the Temple Mount. So what does that have to do with UFOs? Well, in 2011, a UFO was hovering over the Dome of the Rock on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. It emitted a flash of light, then shot straight up and disappeared into the night sky. This could be just a coincidence, but it could be that the craft was looking for the Ark. The Ark of the Covenant is an object of extreme religious importance to over 2 billion people. So why would a UFO be looking for it? Well, because it's the most dangerous weapon of mass destruction ever created. The Ark of the Covenant. The story has captivated us for over 2,000 years. But what is the Ark really? A container for holy relics? Or, as Indiana Jones said, a radio for talking to God? Or is it God's ultimate doomsday machine, a super weapon for the righteous? It's said to possess tremendous power, including the ability to unleash plagues and natural disasters. As the legend goes, an army that carries the Ark before it is invincible. Or was it something more mundane? The story of the Ark of the Covenant begins in the book of Exodus and is mentioned over 200 times in the Bible. It was carried by the Israelites as they traveled through the desert on their journey to the Promised Land. The Ark would fly into the sky miles ahead of the Israelites and show them the way. It would protect them from any dangers in their path. It parted rivers, created walls of fire, caused the mighty city walls of Jericho to crumble, and reduced mountains to dust.
God sounds like one hell of a co-pilot.
Well, the Israelites thought so. According to the Bible, God summoned Moses to the top of Mount Sinai. There, Moses was given 2 stone tablets inscribed with the 10 Commandments. These tablets were to be stored in the Ark of the Covenant. God gave Moses very specific instructions on how to build it.
Make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. Overlay it with pure gold, both inside and out, and make a gold molding around it. Then put in the ark the tablets of the covenant law, which I will give you.
Yeah, cubit. I can't even convert to metric. Don't expect me to convert to Bible.
It was a little smaller than 3 foot by 5 foot.
Hey, did God give Moses one of those little wrenches like you get from IKEA?
I doubt it.
Yeah, that's too bad. Those are really helpful.
They are,
Hey,
but...
did I tell you about the time I got thrown out of IKEA?
No, what did you do?
I asked the girl working there, hey, how much for a one-night stand?
On top of the Ark were cherubim. Sometimes you'll see these depicted as angels, sometimes as winged sphinxes. The face of a man, the body of a lion, and the wings of an eagle.
Make 2 cherubim out of hammered gold at the ends of the cover. The cherubim are to have their wings spread upward, overshadowing the cover with them. The cherubim are to face each other. Place the cover on top of the ark and put in the ark the tablets of the covenant law that I will give you.
A gold box filled with stones sounds pretty heavy.
Probably weighed about 500 pounds, maybe more. And God gave instructions on how it should be transported.
Cast 4 gold rings for it and fasten them to its 4 feet with 2 rings on one side and 2 rings on the other. Then make poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. Insert the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark to carry it.
Hey, look, I don't want to be a jerk, but it might have been easier to put the thing on wheels.
Well, maybe, but God wanted it to be carried by 4 priests of the Levite tribe.
Well, those priests must have been jacked, huh? Can you imagine the calves on these guys?
I'd rather not.
And the Levite priests, who were appointed to carry the ark of the Lord, were not weak of body nor feeble of limb, for they had heeded the words of the Lord, thou shalt not skip leg day.
The ark was extremely dangerous. It had to be kept far away from where the Israelites camped, 2,000 cubits.
Which is?
Half a mile. Anyone who touched it would be killed instantly, if they were lucky. If they weren't lucky, they would die in agony. But when we analyze the way the ark is described in the Bible, the materials used in its construction, the way it looked, the way it sounded, the way it killed people, it doesn't sound paranormal or supernatural. Actually, the Ark of the Covenant sounds like technology. There are a few theories that suggest the Ark of the Covenant may have been a technological device.
Is where you were at. I rewound it a little bit. Area 51, Area Cast Zing, Veronica something. Hey. Oh, here, let me rewind it again. I missed it. I missed it too. Vicious. Hold on. Vicious overkilling machine. A takes 317. Oh, okay. Vicious overkilling machine. I think that was it, right? I even slowed it down. The vicious overkilling machines are defeated. Alright. Back to life. Back to life. Back to life.
Substance that was triggered by sound waves that brought the walls down. Also, the priests who carried the ark had to wear a metallic breastplate and a metal apron, not unlike the lead blanket used when you get an x-ray.
And they wore metal clothes? Yeah, I'm telling you, these guys were jacked.
Also, whenever a priest approached the ark, he had to have a rope tied around his leg.
Around his jacked leg.
This was in case the priest died. His body could then be dragged away from the ark. There's even more evidence that the ark was radioactive. In the book of 1 Samuel, the Philistines and Israelites were engaged in a fierce battle. The Israelites brought out the Ark of the Covenant, believing it would bring them divine protection and victory in the battle. But God didn't command this, so the ark didn't work. The Philistines won the battle and took the ark to their own city, Ashdod. As soon as the ark arrived, people's skin became infected with painful tumors.
And it was so that after they had carried it about, the hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great discomfiture. And he smote the men of the city, both small and great, and emerods broke out upon them.
Break out hemorrhoids, huh? They make a cream for that.
Emerods. Emerods are tumors that sound a lot like radiation burns. Then illness swept through the city. That sounds like radiation sickness. The Philistines believed that the ark was cursed and moved it to another city, Gath. But the tumors and sickness continued. Then they moved it to Ekron. The tumors continued. Finally, the Philistines sent the ark back to the Israelites, along with gold and incense.
They sent therefore and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines, and they said, "Send away the ark of the God of Israel, and let it go back to its own place."
When the ark was traveling, it was set up in a portable sanctuary called a tabernacle. This was an elaborate tent made of woven fabrics and gold. The ark was always shrouded. It was too dangerous to be gazed upon. When the ark was returned from the Philistines, some men got curious and looked at the ark when they weren't supposed to. 70 of them were struck down by the Lord.
If Indy says don't look, you really shouldn't look.
Good advice. For a time, the Israelites experienced a period of peace and stability. But the ark remained a powerful symbol of the Israelites' covenant with God and their faith. The ark was eventually moved to Jerusalem, where a temple was built. The ark was then placed in the Holy of Holies, the innermost chamber of the temple.
Oh, yeah,
the ark remained there for over 300 years,
underglued.
and it played a central role in Israelite religious life. And then suddenly, it's gone.
Stay hydrated, you guys. Make sure you drink some water.
After a 30-month siege, the city of Jerusalem fell to the Babylonian army. The Babylonians then looted the temple's treasures and burned the building to the ground. The Babylonians kept meticulous records of everything they took from Jerusalem. And even though the Ark of the Covenant was stored in the temple, it wasn't on the list. And that's where the Ark disappears from history. So if the Babylonians didn't take it, who did? And where is it today? Some people think the answer lies on the infamous Copper Scroll. When the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, most were made of papyrus and contained religious stories not found in the Bible. But one of the scrolls was very different. It was made of copper. According to Ark Hunter Jim Barfield, the Copper Scroll does not contain the Word of God.
The Copper Scroll is not a Bible story. On that copper, they have hammered instructions to find treasures from the Temple of Solomon, which I believe includes the Ark of the Covenant.
Barfield believes that while the Babylonians were attacking, the treasures of the Temple of Solomon were quietly taken out of the city. Among those treasures was the Ark of the Covenant. The book of 2 Maccabees says that the prophet Jeremiah did exactly this. Underneath the Temple Mount is a vast network of tunnels. But even though miles of tunnels have been explored, none were ever found that would serve as an escape route from the temple. But in 2007, that would change. A new tunnel was found that runs from the Temple Mount to the Kidron Valley, well outside the city. From Kidron, the Ark could have been taken to a town called Qumran. This also happens to be the place where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. The Copper Scroll lists 64 places in and around Qumran where treasures might have been hidden. One place is described as steps, east, 40 cubits long. And buried under those steps, according to the Copper Scroll, is over 1,000 pounds of silver. Barfield found the steps. Then he found another location that describes a well and a courtyard. Under the courtyard is buried 33 tons of polished gold. He found the courtyard. He found the well. Jim Barfield brought his evidence to the local authorities and asked permission to dig at the site, but he was refused. Later, he went back with a metal detector tuned to look for gold and silver. When he got near the location, the metal detector went crazy. Again, he asked permission to dig. Again, he was refused. Barfield was certain that there was a third site containing even more treasure, including the Ark. Using the first two locations as waypoints, he drew a straight line to a cave in a nearby hill. The cave appeared to be sealed shut, but intentionally. Barfield then took a stone sample from the cave entrance and had it tested in a lab. The results were interesting.
I decided that I would take a sample of this stone and send it off to a lab in Skokie, Illinois, where we had it examined, and they find that it is man-made mortar in a common mixture and formula from that time frame. Why would somebody seal a random hill with concrete?
When he took the metal detector to the sealed cave, it registered 5 times the amount of metal that was detected at Qumran. Jim Barfield is firmly convinced that this is the location of the Ark of the Covenant. To this day, permission to dig has not been granted. But many Ark historians believe that if the Ark was in Qumran, that it's not there anymore. They believe the Ark was taken by a Catholic military order called the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, more commonly known as the Knights Templar. During the Crusades, a new Catholic military order emerged, the Knights Templar. From the very beginning, the Templars were known for their secrecy and their mystery. They were also shrewd when it came to finance and politics. They convinced both the Pope and the city leaders of Jerusalem that they would protect Christian pilgrims making the journey to the Holy City. But as soon as the Knights Templar established their headquarters on the Temple Mount, they started digging. And they weren't looking for treasure. The Knights were obsessed with religious relics, and there was no greater prize than the Ark of the Covenant. The Templars were known for their use of caves and tunnels, and just recently, a structure was found in a cave system called Zedekiah's Cave, and this fortification was a guardhouse built to defend the Knights Templar if they had to escape the city. Legend says that they did indeed find the Ark and took it to their European headquarters in France, the famous Chartres Cathedral, and there it stayed for several hundred years. By the 14th century, the Knights Templar had lost most of their military power, but they had become wealthy from their banking practices. King Philip of France found himself deeply in debt to them, and in 1307, he convinced the Pope to move against the order and seize their assets. On October 13th, 1307, the Knights Templar were declared outlaws, and any found were arrested, tortured, and often executed. But when the Templars heard rumors that King Philip and the Pope were moving against them, they relocated the Ark yet again, this time to Scotland, where the Knights were welcomed by King Robert the Bruce. Robert the Bruce had been excommunicated by the church and was sympathetic to the Knights. So when the Knights Templar arrived in Scotland, they allied themselves with the wealthy and powerful Sinclair family. Together, they decided to build a place to keep the Ark of the Covenant safe, Rosslyn Chapel. And there's a lot about Rosslyn Chapel that connects to the Ark and the Holy Land. There are Templar motifs and sculptures all around the grounds. The chapel is laid out just like the first Temple of Solomon, but on a smaller scale. It has an inner Holy of Holies. This is where the Ark could have been kept, far away from the politics of Europe. But then, World War II. The Nazis were obsessed with the occult and religious relics.
It's just like the movie.
There it is.
Raiders
Glued
got
together
a lot
except
of
his
things
head.
right.
I am the monarch of the sea, the ruler of the Queen's Navy.
It's well documented that they searched for the Spear of Destiny, also known as the Holy Lance. This is the spear that is said to have pierced the side of Jesus as he hung on the cross during his crucifixion. They looked for the Holy Grail, the cup that Jesus used during the Last Supper. They sought the Shroud of Turin, the cloth used to wrap the body of Jesus after his crucifixion.
Come on,
the Germans wanted the
bro.
menorah, the 7-branched
Upgrade
candelabrum
those
that was
guys
created during the
up, my
Exodus.
dude.
And of course, they sought the other object created during the time of Moses, the Ark of the Covenant.
There he goes. There he goes. Hell yeah.
After they conquered France, the Germans engaged in major archaeological digs at Chartres Cathedral and other suspected locations of the Ark. After France was overrun, President Roosevelt of the United States arranged for the contents of Roslyn Chapel to be moved to the Americas, where they could be better defended. So the Ark was sent from Scotland to New Scotland, also known as Nova Scotia, specifically to Oak Island. While this is just a legend, there is a complex system of caves and tunnels on Oak Island, and nobody knows exactly who put them there or what they were hiding. There are stories of the Ark ending up in Rome, where it sits on one of the 50 miles of shelves in the Vatican secret archives. Some say the Ark is buried on Mount Nebo in Jordan, where Moses died. An Irish legend says the Ark was brought to Ireland by the prophet Jeremiah and is now located in a secret chamber beneath the hill of Tara. Or Jeremiah took the Ark to Egypt, and it's now located in a hidden chamber beneath the Sphinx. But there's evidence that the Ark isn't hidden away in a cave, or a tomb, or a secret chamber. It's not hidden at all. For hundreds of years, the Ark has been in a church, in what might sound like an unlikely place for a Jewish artifact. The Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. In the Bible, in the books of 1 Kings and 2 Chronicles, is the story of the Queen of Sheba. She was a wealthy and powerful queen who ruled over the Aksumite kingdom, located in what is now Ethiopia and Yemen. The Queen of Sheba heard of the great wisdom of King Solomon of Israel, and she traveled to Jerusalem to meet him. After witnessing the splendor of his kingdom, the Queen of Sheba returned home. That concludes the biblical account of the Queen of Sheba. But there's more to the story. The Kebra Nagast is an Ethiopian text that's at least 700 years old, and is considered by many Ethiopian Christians to be historically reliable. The text contains an account of how the Queen of Sheba not only met King Solomon, but had a son by him, named Menelik. At the age of 22, in about 950 BC, Menelik went to Jerusalem to meet his father. While there, Menelik's companions stole the Ark and replaced it with a replica. Solomon and Menelik both discovered the switch, but only after Menelik was flying back home, so there was nothing anyone could do about it.
I couldn't reach him because they put the Ark in airplane mode, huh?
No, the Ark with the power of God flew them home.
Ah.
The Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Aksum claims to possess the actual Ark of the Covenant. The Ark is never seen by outsiders. When the Holy of Holies was built around the Ark, the hallways were made too small intentionally, so the only way to remove the Ark is to destroy the church. Only one priest at a time serves as the guardian of the Ark, and only that priest is permitted to see it. The priest lives in the church for the rest of his life. Now, to be the custodian of the Ark is a great honor, but it's also a death sentence. Priests who guard the Ark have a very short lifespan. Once appointed a guardian, they typically live no more than 2 or 3 years. But before they die, they develop cataracts and go blind.
What would happen if someone did accidentally see the Ark?
Blind.
Would be blinded.
Yeah, a lot of miracles. Also
bad miracles.
Yeah,
like would be
very high power.
Maybe being alone in a room for 2 years, they were doing something else that makes them go blind.
Don't be disrespectful. What's interesting is these symptoms are consistent with exposure to high levels of radiation. But if the Ark is in Ethiopia, it may no longer be in the church. In November 2020, war broke out between the Ethiopian government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front. The TPLF were rebels in Ethiopia, then rulers, then rebels again. The Tigray conflict saw atrocities committed on civilians perpetrated by both sides. When rebels approached the church in Aksum, at least 800 unarmed civilians rushed to protect it. They were slaughtered. An uneasy peace has been in place since November 2022, but it's difficult to get news out of the region. The priests in Aksum say the Ark is still safe within the walls of the church, but many locals say the Ark was stolen when the entire area was looted during the conflict. The priests won't allow anyone access to verify if the Ark is or isn't there. If the Ark of the Covenant is gone, then Ethiopia becomes another in a long list of places that had and lost the Ark. And even though the Ark of the Covenant is a religious artifact, Ark hunters aren't necessarily religious. The search for the Ark is of interest to people from all over the world, and perhaps even beyond it. The location of the Ark of the Covenant is a mystery that has endured for over 2,000 years. And that's plenty of time for the introduction of confusion and contradiction. Even the Bible has the ark behaving differently at different times. It acted like a high-voltage capacitor that electrocuted Uzzah when he touched it. It was more like a heat ray that boiled away water when the Hebrews crossed the River Jordan. Then it was a powerful sonic weapon when it brought down the walls of Jericho.
When the walls come tumbling down, when the walls come crumbling when the walls come tumbling down.
Now maybe it's all those things, depending on what's needed in the moment. But then the question becomes, what was the power source? If people near the ark really did break out into tumors and boils and cataracts
And hemorrhoids.
Emeralds.
What I say?
If that's true, it sounds like the ark housed an intensely radioactive device. A device that could be tuned to specific functions, including use as a weapon. But if that's true, where did Moses get it? And how did this technology exist thousands of years ago? It's been suggested that maybe the tablets containing the Ten Commandments were made of uranium, which exists in vast quantities in the deserts of the Middle East. But even if they were, raw uranium ore isn't dangerous. Only when it's refined is the radiation harmful. And I don't think it's controversial to say that the Israelites didn't have centrifuges and uranium enrichment technologies. Now, about the cataracts developed by the priests in Ethiopia. Cataracts can be developed 1 or 2 years after high radiation exposure. That's true. But it's also true that people who live at high altitudes are at greater risk of cataracts. The thinner atmosphere offers less protection from the sun's harmful rays, which damage the eyes. The city of Axum, where the ark is supposedly housed, is almost 7,000 feet above sea level, making it one of the highest altitude cities in the world. And there are other problems.
Feast your eyes on the only all-day meal with all-day breakfast. At Jack, every bite's a big deal. Welcome to Jack in the Box.
This Friday.
Very good, very good.
Sommelier for this evening. You got something for me?
And we're gonna be hitting 3 hours right now. I think that's the fastest I've made a Terminator so far. That's the quickest a Terminator has been completed. Well, not completed, but built. I mean, he might still need a tilt shield here, a purity seal there. But other than that, he's doing all right. He did okay, you guys. We're leveling up slowly. We're making it happen. What I should do, though, is I should glue the other guys because I know I'm not going to sub-assemble. These two guys. I put them in little solo cups. Solo cups? I don't know. No, these aren't solo cups. Solo dip dip cups. Yeah, dude, we got this guy right here, our captain. Captain with his badass sword. And over here we have our other Terminator with the rocket pack. It's because I need to primer them, dude, and I need to stand them all up and have them all nicely, and it's just better if I build them, primer them all together, and that should be enough. It came out all right though for this guy. Let's put together this captain real quick. Let's see what we've got. A couple arms, the head, the shoulder pads. Okay, what kind of pose are we gonna have for him? He's got his gun. He's also got his sword. Do I want him at like forward stance? Or like in for the slash? Oh, whoops.
Will likely never be granted. The site is considered sacred by Jews, Christians, and Muslims, and any damage to the site would be seen as an affront to these religions, or worse, a provocation. But maybe that's for the best. Zechariah was a prophet who lived during the time of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, and many of his prophecies are related to the return of the Ark of the Covenant. And the return of the Ark is also mentioned in Revelation.
Then God's temple in heaven was opened, and within his temple was seen the Ark of his covenant. And there came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, an earthquake, and a great hailstorm.
The return of the Ark happens at the end of the world. Now that might sound dramatic, but think about what would happen if the Ark was discovered by Muslims, or if it was discovered by Jews, or by Christians. What people would be the best stewards of the Ark? Everyone would want it, but whose decision is that to make? The discovery of the Ark could be the spark that ignites war in the region, which could possibly escalate to World War III. And the next thing you know, the end-time prophecies are coming true. Now, I'm fascinated by the Ark, and I'd love to know where it is. But for now, the location of the Ark of the Covenant remains a mystery. And for all our sakes, let's hope it stays that way.
And there's a channel on YouTube, I don't know if you've ever watched it, called The Y-Files.
No.
If you haven't, you gotta check it out. Okay. You're gonna lose your stuff for The Y-Files.
Damn, I don't know, dude. I kind of want his sword raised up, but I don't know if I want it
In
higher than what he has it or lower
Maltese
than what he has
pediatrician
it.
Anton Mifsud got a frantic call from his contractor. He was clearing a piece of land for a new medical clinic.
Should I go with
Dr.
the
Mifsud
same
was
pose
hoping they
that's
didn't need more
on-
equipment. They were isolated on Gozo, one
on
of the
the
islands
box.
of Malta. The nearest mainland was the Italian coast, 60 miles away by boat. But Mifsud quickly realized this wasn't about equipment. The contractor sounded worried, afraid even. Mifsud wondered if someone had been hurt. He got the contractor to calm down and tell him what had happened. While digging, workers found human bones. The doctor said they should just call the police. But the contractor said there was more to it. The skeleton they found was 10 feet long. Dr. Mifsud said that was impossible. No human ever lived that was that enormous. Then he remembered the legend. It was a late winter night on the island of Malta many thousands of years ago. A farmer was awakened by a strange rumbling sound. It sounded like wind, but deeper. His family was still asleep, no need to wake them until he figured out what this was. The farmer stepped through the low entrance of his hut and stood at the edge of his wheat field. It was just a day or two after the new moon. It should have been pitch black, but an eerie orange light washed over the field, and it was getting brighter, and the sound was getting louder. It wasn't wind. He'd seen meteors before, but they were small and came in bunches. This was a single large object blazing a path through the night sky. Then he became afraid. It was getting bigger. This fiery object, whatever it was headed straight for the island. He wanted to warn his family, but there was no time. Seconds later, it roared past. It left a trail of fire in the sky above his hut, his field, and then into a valley nearby. A bright flash lit up the island and the sea beyond. Then, just as quickly, the darkness returned. The farmer's wife stepped out of the hut, afraid. He turned to comfort her. Whatever it was, it crashed. The danger was over. But she wasn't looking at him.
All right, here we
She
go.
was staring at
Lose this
something
guy.
behind him in the
Hopefully
direction
the
of the
pose doesn't
crash.
suck later.
The farmer turned around and saw a huge figure emerge from the woods. A dark silhouette that stood higher than the trees. The giant called Sansuna had arrived. When Sansuna emerged from the woods on Gozo, the locals were terrified. But despite her overwhelming size and strength, she eventually earned their trust. She claimed to be from a race of beings called the Nephilim, and she promised to protect them. The farmers in the islands were in constant danger from raiders and pirates, but now with the arrival of this giantess, the Maltese had a powerful guardian. The islands were abundant with huge limestones, some weighing 20 tons and stood 20 feet high. To the Maltese people, the stones were too large to be useful. This was thousands of years ago. They had no metal tools, They hadn't yet discovered the wheel, but Sansuna was able to pick up even the largest stones and carefully place them one by one. Soon, enormous temples were assembled. Some had walls 3 stories high. She built 30 different megalithic temples across the islands. The most impressive temple is on the island of Gozo. The farmers named it Gigantia, the Maltese word for giant. Gigantia is made of 2 separate buildings built using enormous limestone blocks, and it still stands to this day. But as the centuries passed, Sansuna became nothing more than a local legend, a myth. No one believed these enormous stone blocks were carried by a giant. No one believed in giants, until they found the bones. The Maltese Islands have been continuously occupied for thousands of years. They're strategically important. They're 60 miles from Italy and 180 miles from North Africa, right in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. The Phoenicians were the first empire to claim Malta. Then came the Romans, then the Byzantines, the Arabs, and the Christians. In 1530, Malta was governed by a nobleman named John Abela. He was the first person in a long time to take interest in the temples on the islands. He collected artifacts and documented ancient buildings. Most were buried in debris from centuries of neglect, but a little digging revealed the structures were enormous. Abela didn't understand how these huge temples could be built by ancient farmers. One day, a worker found something wedged in a rock fissure. When Abela saw it, the answer to who built the huge structures was clear. They were built by a giant. The worker handed Abela a femur, the largest bone in the human leg. Except this femur was twice as large as a normal human's. A person with a femur this big would be about 10 feet tall.
Sansuna.
Yep.
Hi, buddy.
Soon, Abela had workers all over the island hunting. And by 1647, he had enough bones to publish a pioneering book that made him famous. He's been called the father of Maltese history.
Tell the people the name of his
Where your
famous
pizza?
book then.
Well, that's not really important to the story.
Yeah, you can't pronounce it.
It's Italian. I can pronounce it.
Go ahead then.
It's not.
20 bucks says you can't do it.
Abela's book was titled Della descrizione di Malta Isola nel mare siciliano con le sue antichità ed astre notizie.
Take it.
Over here, Bobo.
Grazie mille.
Show off.
The book documented skull fragments, giant femurs and tibias, impossibly large vertebrae, and enormous pelvic bones. Abela concluded that the Maltese temples were built by a prehistoric race of giants that lived on the islands. Abela turned his home into Malta's first museum. He put the bones on
2002.
display
What's up,
and
dude?
opened the
Welcome.
museum to
Thank
the
you for being
public.
here. Thank you for
Anatomists
watching.
and naturalists who saw the large
building a
bones agreed
Terminator right
they must have
now.
belonged to giants.
40K
Skeptics
Terminator.
said they were animal bones,
Putting
and
it
until the
piece by
sites were
piece,
fully cleared, there was
little
no
by
way to know
little.
for sure. Then centuries later, proper
Sorry,
archaeological excavations were done.
Legs,
but what they
torso,
uncovered didn't solve the mystery.
arms.
It added to it.
And then eventually, once we put them together, we're going to spray primer them later this week. And then we'll hand paint them to look more like
In
this.
1915, a Maltese farmer kept hitting large stone blocks while plowing his field, so he contacted
We
the
painted
Malta
this one a
Museum
couple weeks
director,
ago
Sir Temi Zamet.
in one of the streams.
Expecting more temple remains,
And,
Zamet instead found something quite different. A massive statue. The top had been destroyed, but the bottom
Yo,
remained.
thanks for the
Two
follow. I
giant legs
appreciate
and
it.
feet. The statue was over
Here
10
we
feet
are.
tall.
We're doing it. We're watching the Y files in the
Workers
background.
kept digging, and what was a buried statue
Tomorrow we're
turned
going to
out
watch
to be
some
much
Stargate
more.
SG-1.
The statue was in the middle of
Watch
a complex
parties.
group of megalithic
And,
temples.
Thursday,
Zamet
we got the
uncovered
season
one of the most
finale
significant
for
and
season
impressive
3.
archaeological sites in Malta. They're
Yeah,
known
let me
as the
pause it so you
Tarshian
can
temples.
hear me a little bit
4
better.
structures.
Yeah, so tomorrow we got the Stargate SG-1 watch party. Thursday, we got the season finale of season 3 of Reacher watch party. Friday, we're going to watch something Star Wars. It'll either be episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It'll either be that bonus features for the original trilogy or the Family Guy 3-episode Blue Harvest, something Dark Side, and It's a Trap. One of those we're gonna do for Friday's stream. And then Monday's stream, we're gonna watch an anime. I'm not too sure which movie yet, anime movie, but we're gonna watch an anime movie. And then next Tuesday we'll be doing this again. Building the Terminator. Here, we built this one tonight. We built this one up tonight. In the last couple hours, we did this. And then this one we put mostly together a couple weeks ago, but now we're just gluing his arms on because I was going to do the sub-assembly where you leave the arms off and then you paint everything and then you glue the arms on, you glue the shoulder pads after you paint them. And in doing that, I need to position them all nicely, separately, and sometimes drill holes in them, and I don't feel like doing that since I'm still kind of a noob. So we're not going to do the sub-assembly nonsense right now. I feel like maybe one day we'll do that, but right now we're just going to glue them all together, make sure that they're all in their pose looking badass, and then we'll paint them. We'll paint them next week, or we'll build the last one before we prime. No, we'll primer and then we'll do some painting. It's been a little while since we've done some painting. We've just been building the last couple weeks. Australia, no, I'm in Los Angeles, California, United States. LA. Thank you for being here, my dude. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Time's important. Time's valuable. It's the most precious thing we have, and I appreciate you spending it here. Throw the Y-files back on.
In all, arranged in a cloverleaf pattern only visible from above. The temples were made from limestone blocks. Some are 20 feet tall and weigh over 50 tons.
I'll glue his
Walls,
face on
doorways,
last.
even floors made of enormous stones.
But I think I do want him raising his sword up.
He kept digging. Zamet oversaw the excavation of nearly
Raising it up
30
like
different
that.
sites.
I
All
could
megalithic,
do the
all
side,
made
like,
with enormous
oh, we're going into
limestone,
battle,
stacked in close-fitting
defensive
slabs.
stance, or ready to chop.
The obvious
Or I could
question
do
plaguing
the
Zamet was,
stance
how could Stone Age
where he's
farmers on a
a
remote
little further
island
down.
build these things? The temple excavated at Amnidra is even more
But I
mysterious.
think we're gonna do the
It might be the world's oldest calendar. On the equinoxes, the sun hits the main axis of the temple. On the solstices, the sun hits the opposite axis.
buddy, Star Wars is where it's at.
Perfect. Almost.
We did watch parties for Star Wars
that could build a site
here.
with such
The
precision
last
would
few
be off
Fridays
by a
we've
few
done
degrees.
watch parties for Star Wars. If you want, you can check them out.
Nothing.
Well, we've only done the
As you
original,
know, the Earth
the
slowly
originals.
wobbles on its axis, and the position of the stars
But I have,
changes over time. This is called precession.
I have like
There was a time
other
when the
Star
Temple
Wars
of
watched on
Amnidra
like
was in
early
perfect
streams and
alignment with these
recordings,
celestial
but
events. 10,200 BC.
like Visions, Kenobi,
10,200
Acolyte
BC is just after
wasn't
the
that good,
end of the
though.
Younger
But,
Dryas, when the ice
at all.
sheets melted and a great flood rushed over the
But
Earth.
yeah, dude, original trilogy.
quick and
We
it was
watched it just a couple weeks ago.
Shredded
These
by a
last couple
mile-high
weeks,
tsunami moving
and
at the
then,
speed of sound. Their remains scattered
prequel
at the bottom of
trilogy
the
is
sea.
coming up
The only
soon.
human
But
survivors
yeah,
were the
Fridays
ones
we're
on
doing
higher
Star Wars.
ground. The entire landscape of the Earth was changed. The cause of the flood is still being debated. Some say it was caused by the impact of a giant asteroid, while others believe it was a massive solar event. But Zamet was exploring Amnidra in the early 1900s. He didn't know anything about asteroids or solar storms, but he did know the story of the Great Flood. The flood was the wrath of God,
Glue this
meant to destroy
guy.
the Nephilim. The flood was meant to kill the giants.
I do, but I don't use it. Yeah, sorry, man.
The Nephilim are mentioned in the book of Genesis. They're described as
One day I'll
warriors
get
who are
on
large
it,
and
but
strong. The Bible doesn't go into much
we're
more
still
detail than
just
that.
snooping it up over
But
here
if we look to holy texts outside the Bible,
with our
we
cats.
get the
Hey,
full story.
get out of here!
The book of Enoch is not included in the canonical Bible for most Jews and Christians.
I got a
but it's an
cat cam
important
too.
work, especially within the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and among
The
scholars
camera
of
up here
early
is usually the
Judaism
cat
and
cam,
Christianity.
but I have it pointing over
The book
there.
tells a story about the origins of
And we have
evil.
this camera
It
too.
starts with a group of angels called the Watchers. God entrusted them with the task of overseeing
We got all
mankind.
sorts of different angles around here. That one, this one, that one.
Remained on Earth. The Watchers and their
Yeah,
human
good stuff, good
wives
stuff,
had
good stuff.
offspring. These hybrid beings were mighty giants called the Nephilim. According
we're gonna
to the Book of
glue.
Enoch,
We're gonna glue
these
this
giants
guy.
wreaked
Give him
havoc
his
on
arm.
Earth and are the reason God created the flood. He meant to destroy the children of the Watchers from amongst men. Of course, if the Nephilim were destroyed in the flood, they'd be long gone before the early Maltese farmers settled on the island. But in the Book of Numbers, there's more to the story. Moses sends spies to explore the land of Canaan.
Dude.
They report that some
well,
giants
my
may have
Discord name is
survived
the
the
same
flood.
name in my streaming buddy
we
of
have
my
gone to
channel and
spy it
stuff.
is a
If
land
you want to send me a
that
friend
devours its
request, I'll accept it. If you
all
want
the
to
people that we saw
post your
in
pictures.
are
I don't know
of
if you,
great
if
height.
you searching my
there we
name on
saw the
Discord, you'll be able to go on
and
the
we
channel
seemed
and
to ourselves
just
like
join it.
grasshoppers,
But
and so we seemed to them.
if you need to send the friend
The
request,
Maltese
I'll
legend of
accept it.
Sansuna goes back thousands of years before the
Yeah, I
Bible
don't
was
really
written.
ever use
Yet
Discord.
that legend
I
aligns
only use
perfectly
Discord when
with what's
you know,
told in the
somebody
Book of
wants to
Enoch.
show me stuff.
Sansuna was a demigod stranded on the island, a giant who survived the flood, and she wanted to continue her species.
Bad idea.
But there were no other giants on the island.
Okay. Whew.
But she might have taken a human male as a mate. That would explain the skulls.
There we go.
Skulls? What skulls? What skull? No. Don't show the logo. Don't show the logo. Crib.
In 1902, the British Navy expanded its base in Malta, and new housing developments started popping up all over the islands. On one job site, workers were digging out an area for a large water tank. Suddenly, the ground gave way, exposing an enormous underground chamber. Excavations revealed a subterranean maze of rooms and burial chambers. Zamet named the site the Hypogeum, the Greek word for underground. What Zamet found mirrored the megalithic temples above ground. There are limestone walls and doorways, the same slate floors. The stonework is precise and massive. Zamet and his team were stunned by the size of this underground world. Then they discovered this was just the first level. There were 2 more levels below, maybe more, and the Hypogeum was full of well-preserved artifacts. The most common design was the same found everywhere on the island, the figure of a giantess.
Sansuna.
Many parts of the Hypogeum were used as a burial site. That meant there would be bones.
Hell yeah,
Zamet
bro!
recovered the remains
Nice,
of
dude.
more
I'm
than
still
7,000 people.
fresh to
Some
the
of
hobby.
bodies date back to the
I'm
Neolithic
still
period. He documented
still
every
figuring it
bone he
out.
found.
All I've
Until he
done
got
so
to a
far
group
is
of
build
skulls
stuff
he
I've never
couldn't quite
played.
explain.
I've watched people play online and stuff on YouTube,
Elongated.
but
Alien heads.
Well, they do
but
look
as
like
for me
that.
playing,
But
not
Zamet
yet.
knew many
I
cultures
still
around
haven't
the world
fully gotten
used
the grasp
head binding
of
to
the rolling
stretch
the
their
dice
skulls.
and the double
So Zamet
hits
had
and
scientists examine
the
this.
some of them
They
defend.
confirmed
And
that the long
I'm
cranium
sure once I
was
play, I'll get the
natural,
hang of it more.
not the result of bonding or boards.
But for
But
right
it gets
now,
even stranger.
we're just
Every human
chilling,
skull
building,
has a seam between
building
the
and
2
painting.
parietal bones. It's called the
That's
sagittal
dope,
suture.
dude.
When we're born, our skulls are flexible. That makes it easier for our big head to,
Square out the baby chute.
Right. As we grow, the 2 halves of our skull fuse together, forming that seam. But these elongated skulls had no seam at all. That's impossible. That seam is a key part of human development.
So these skulls aren't human.
Nope, they didn't seem human. Well, not completely human. In 1920, National Geographic magazine reported that the first inhabitants of Malta were an
We're gonna
alien
glue his
race
head in
with
there now.
elongated skulls. Now, Zamet would have called that crazy, except he couldn't explain the skulls otherwise. Then he remembered the story of Sansuna.
Sansu. Nah.
Part of the Sansuna legend is that she carried stones under one arm while cradling a baby in the other. The child was a Nephilim-human hybrid. So let's go back to the skull for a second. For a child to be born with a fully formed skull, it would have to travel through a very large...
Baby chute.
Yes, like that of a giant. Now maybe these skulls belong to the descendants of Sansuna. If they were human Nephilim hybrid children, they would have the size and strength to carve and build the Hypogeum. Now it's a fun story and adds to the legend, but still, this was conjecture. There's no proof of giants living underground in the Hypogeum. Until 1940, when someone saw them.
Alright, that looks tits right there, dude.
In August 1940,
That
National
looks
Geographic
perfect.
magazine
It looks
printed
like
an
it came out
interesting
good.
and disturbing story about Malta and the Hypogeum.
I tried turning the head
First, the
perfectly,
article
so he's
reported
like
that excavators
looking on
discovered
to
the
the
bones
oncoming
of over
battle.
33,000 people who had been
Can't focus
sacrificed
because of
by
my
an ancient
stupid
pagan
hand in the
cult.
back.
Then there was the story of the children who went to the Hypogeum on a school trip.
A school field trip to an underground
Hell yeah,
cave
dude.
where thousands of people were sacrificed in a cult.
I almost played some
They must have
Darktide
signed
a little
one
while
hell of a
ago
waiver with
with
that
one of
permission
the
slip
viewers.
Well, I hope
Francis.
so, because the children went in and
He has
never
to
came
carry
out.
me because I'm not that
Yep.
good, but
30 school
we almost
children and their
played,
teacher
but his
went down a
internet wasn't
passage.
working.
They either
Next
got
week, or
lost
maybe a
stuck
little bit
behind a
during the week,
cave-in
we might
because they
do
were
a
never seen again.
Darktide stream. If you're around, man, and if you got
For weeks,
Darktide, you're more
mothers
than welcome to
declared
join us.
They had heard wailing and screaming from underground, but numerous
We're probably going to be calling it a night here
searching
soon,
parties
maybe in the next
brought
like
no
15
trace
minutes.
of the
We're
lost
just
souls.
finishing up the
After
last
3
little bit
weeks,
of the
they
homie
were
right
finally
here.
given up for dead.
To this
And we're
day,
gonna-
the children have never been
We're going to
found.
wrap it up.
Which brings us to the story of Lois Jessup.
But we finished one guy. We released him from his sprue prison.
She was in Malta with a few friends
And,
touring the various historical
yeah,
sites.
dude, we're doing all right.
It was a hot summer afternoon, so locals suggested they go see the Hypogeum. Not only was it an amazing historical location, it was underground. It would be nice to get out of the Mediterranean sun. When they found the entrance, they hired a guide named Joe to give them a tour. They weaved through various passageways and found the entrance to a mysterious-looking cave. On the walls were ancient carvings and designs painted with red ochre. The entrance smelled damp and moldy, but once they entered, the air felt clean and dry. Their guide, Joe, told them there were 3 floors of underground rooms. Joe gave Lois and each of her friends a single lighted candle. One by one, Lois and her friends entered the cave. The passage was narrow, so they had to crouch and walk single file. They emerged into a large room with smooth limestone walls. The women laughed and talked, and they noticed their voices were echoing and creating a strange humming sound. Joe said the room was built thousands of years ago for a powerful oracle. The oracle would perform miracles using certain sounds. Joe said the room would still work today if anyone knew the correct sound to use. Lois and her friends followed Joe through another narrow passage. The ground was steep. They were going down, very far down, into the deepest part of the Hypogeum.
Yeah, I don't like where this is going.
Do you mind?
Sorry. I'm just trying to break the tension.
Yeah, I was building tension on purpose.
Oh. Oops.
Lois wasn't sure how far down they went, but her senses told her it must have been 20 or 30 feet. The tunnel opened up to another large room. Cut into the walls were shelves. Lois thought they looked like beds or resting places. She got a closer look. They were shaped like coffins. Joe said they buried their dead in here. He gestured to a slit in
not
the
on the
wall,
weekend,
and Lois
but tomorrow
realized there
I'll
were slits
stream.
carved all around the room.
Tomorrow we got a stream at pretty much 7 p.m. Pacific time. No, more like 6. It'll be a Stargate SG-1 stream. If you haven't seen Stargate SG-1 sci-fi, great show. We started season 6 a couple weeks ago. Yeah, so continuing season 6, it's on Amazon Prime. Stargate live stream tomorrow. Watch party. Thursday, we got the last episode of Reacher. Friday, we got something to do with Star Wars. And then nothing on the weekend. But Monday, we'll be back with an anime movie on Monday. And then Tuesday, we'll be doing this again.
all simultaneously raised their arms and with their hands beckoned me.
I love anime and the comic books.
Terror
I'm
rooted me
kind of
to
a
the
noob to
spot.
anime too. I've seen a good handful, a good like 20 years ago, but it was never really my thing.
From the cavern,
but
this time
I
blowing out
appreciate
Lois's
animes. I love
everything
art,
went black.
so anything artsy is pretty cool. And
then she started
but
screaming.
yeah, like some of the most popular animes, and I've
was in
never
pure
seen.
panic.
I've just seen a
She heard herself
handful,
yelling, "Go back,
small
go
handful.
back," as she shoved her friends back the way they came. The women spilled back into the room where
But
Joe
we're
and the
doing
other
it,
two
dude.
friends were
We're
waiting.
learning. As
And
we
Joe
learn, we
said
gain
nothing.
experience,
But
and
Lois was
hopefully we'll level up
suspicious.
soon.
I looked up at him, our eyes met. I knew that at one time he had seen what I had seen. There was an expression of caution in his eyes, adding to my reluctance to tell anyone. I decided not to.
Lois turned to head back to the surface when Joe grabbed her arm. He said, "If you're interested in exploring further, you should join a group. Soon I'll be taking a teacher and her students down there. I'm sure they'd enjoy the company."
Oh!
I left my address with him and asked him to have the school teacher get in touch with me, but I never heard any more about it until one of my friends told me to read the paper.
A few months later, Lois returned to the Hypogeum and found another guide. She wanted to know about the teacher and the children, but the guide shrugged and said he couldn't talk about it. Lois still wanted answers. She asked, "Where's Joe, the other guide?" The man said, "Ma'am, I alone have been the guide of this catacomb for years. I don't know anyone named Joe." Lois went to respond, but something about this man frightened her, so she left. And though it had been her favorite place in the world to visit, she never went back to Malta. Never again. The islands of Malta are steeped in legends. Giants riding comets and building huge temples. Underground cities where the descendants of the Nephilim hide, capturing any human who wanders a bit too far. Elongated skulls that appear more alien than human. But how much of this is true? Quite a lot of it, actually. But not all of it. The temples on Malta and Gozo remain a mystery. No one knows for sure who built these structures or why. They remain among the earliest freestanding structures in the world. Mainstream archaeology debated the age of the temples for years, saying they couldn't be older than 2600 BC, the Bronze Age. But carbon dating shows they're at least 1,000 years older than that. That's a proven fact. As to whether they go back to the Younger Dryas, there's no physical evidence. But the solar alignment theory about Amnidra is true. It would align perfectly if it was built between 12 and 13,000 years ago. We just can't prove it. But for years, mainstream science did get the age of these sites wrong. They were built during a time before humans had the tools to work stone so precisely. They were built before the wheel. They were built before writing, but there they are. You couldn't build these things without very advanced engineering and logistics. Nobody has yet to explain how this could have been achieved.
On
As for the
50
giants.
together, same model. Wait, what?
The giant bones
What?
Abela found in the
I'm
1600s
sorry, I missed
turned out
it.
to be from elephants, not actual giants.
The guy you
So
want
above
to
ground,
give
there's
us
no
on
evidence of
50
giants.
together,
Below
same
ground,
model.
things get a little more complicated. But let's clear up a few things first.
Oh.
Zamet didn't find 7,000 skeletons. He found about 7,000 bones. In all, about 120 individual skeletons have been identified. As for the 33,000 sacrifices, there's no evidence of that. 120 people, that's all we got. As for the missing children, that's an urban legend. Locals think it was a story parents told their children to keep them out of the Hypogeum. In fact, in the catacombs under St. Paul's Basilica in Rabat, Malta, there's a wall painting that tells a story of a group of children disappearing in the caves underground, as a warning. Now, Lois Jessup's story is interesting. She was a real person, and she really did write that story. I quoted some of it, but it's probably just a story. The types of rooms she describes don't exist in the lower levels of the Hypogeum. Now, sure, she might have stumbled into a secret level known only to giants, but you can't get much lower before you're underwater. The curators of the Hypogeum said that if she was in a flooded chamber with a candle, reflections might have disoriented her. Now, that could be true, but the fact that her story includes the missing children is what debunks it. If a whole group of children went missing in the 20th century, there'd be reports of it, and there aren't. In 1940, National Geographic magazine
there it
wasn't
is.
as mainstream as it is
He's
today.
glued
It
together.
often included stories of
Captain
the fantastic
Homie
and the
is
bizarre.
glued.
I wish they'd go back to that.
Me too. Now, the elongated skulls are a bit of a conundrum. Sir Temi Salmon was
All
actually
right, you
trained as a
guys.
doctor, so he knew a lot about anatomy,
did all
physiology,
right.
and craniology. He documented the skulls as being
did all
of the
right.
long-headed type, and that's about all he said. The skulls were hidden from the public for years, which only fueled speculation.
I think we're gonna wrap
But they
it
were
up
finally
right
put on
here.
display just a couple of years ago. They are long-headed.
Eventually,
But at
they'll
least
look
one
like
of them
this.
appears to have been artificially lengthened by binding, like many cultures do. But not all the skulls. Now, the skeptics will say the elongation is genetic.
Yeah, alien genetics.
Or were the skulls elongated as a way of worshiping a prehistoric god who is actually an alien?
Ancient astronaut theorists say yes.
Maybe. They're still being studied.
Yeah, buddy.
Now, I didn't know much about the mysteries of Malta before researching this episode. And stories about giants, I do those because people like them, not because I believe them. But the Temple of Amnidra really threw me off. The sun really would line up with the structure perfectly at the end of the Younger Dryas over 12,000 years ago. Now, I don't know how many times the Younger Dryas and the Great Flood have come up on this channel, but we're 3 years in, and they've come up a lot.
Born together right now.
When I first started the Y-Files, I believed almost none of these stories, and most of them are still bunk. They're fun, but they're bunk. But there have been a few episodes that, after
Bro, you
researching,
got 50
made
to
me
put
a little
together?
bit of a believer. Not a full believer,
That's
but much
too.
more
That's too
open-minded.
much. That's
I don't
never
know, maybe
too
I've
much.
been doing this too long and the tinfoil is seeping into my brain.
You get used to it.
I was once a complete non-believer, but now, after years of research, I believe the moon
Yeah,
might be hollow.
I've got only.
Crop circles
I've
are
only got
real,
those
and I'm starting
Terminators,
to
the
believe
5.
that maybe, at
And then I
one
got,
point
like,
very long ago, great
9
megalithic
Infernus
structures were
rings.
built by a race of giants.
Like
But
10
if that's
Tyranids.
true, where's the evidence?
The starter box.
Well, there
starter
wouldn't be
box
any.
that we had.
Because when the Great Flood came,
Okay.
the giants boarded their chariots, took to the sky, and went back home.
Oops. This one. And I got this one. And then we're working on this one right now. The goal for your chapter is to have 1,000 models? Bro. Damn. What are you going to do? Like, have a whole room dedicated to them all over the place? That's going to be wild, dude. You know they come to life at night, like Indian in the Cupboard. Start doing stuff. Start having little wars. Well, you guys, that was it. We did it. We built a Terminator and a half. We put the arms on one of the old. We put the arms on the captain. We built one from scratch, or from Sprue land, whatever you want to call it. You'll be saved. Hell yeah, dude! Don't let them come after you. You've seen Small Soldiers, right? Well, there they are, you guys. The little homies. But we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be doing it. Stargate SG-1 stream tomorrow. Thursday, the last episode of Reacher for season 3. Season finale, season 3 Reacher watch party on Thursday. Friday, Star Wars. Monday, anime. Monday. And then Tuesday, back to Warhammer. Back to 40k. But I appreciate you guys for being here, for hanging out. Your time is appreciated. Cheers. Grogu, my guy, I appreciate the follow. Thank you for being there. Thank you for hanging out. Area 51, my dude, I still got you on screen number 3 over here. We got our buddy Area 51 that was in the chat earlier. He's playing Dragon Quest 11 right now. One of the homies. But if you like Dragon Quest 11 or Final Fantasy 7, there he is. Go check him out. Maybe drop a subscribe if you like what you see. But yeah, dude, good stuff. Everybody else that was here, lurkers, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for chilling. Francis, my dude. Sucks we weren't able to get on to play some Darktide, but maybe during the week, if not next week, whenever your internet's doing better and we got time. Sounds good. Phil does things. Thank you for hanging out, my guy. Thank you for being here. We will catch you again soon. 6-Cylinder Samurai, thank you for hanging out. Bella Truth, thank you for being here. Who else was here? Let me check over here. I don't want to miss anybody. And if I missed somebody, I'm sorry, but thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Yeah, dude. Shout outs all around. Thank you, my dude. Thank you, Area 51. Thank you, Grogu. All the watchers and bots out there. I appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you again tomorrow. Francis, my dude, I'll catch you later, my guy. You guys have a good one. Peace.